Okay. All right, folks. Well, we got the panel going here. We got Cody Dowell up here to our top left. Cody, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh God, too much talking.
You should have had some cough drops, my guy.
Yeah, that don't help actually. Well, I'm currently a haunt actor at the 13th floor. Started 2 days ago. It's been fun. Like to play guitar on the side. I
Okay. And Tommy.
know I know you from Paulette, and goddamn, some days I regret it.
I mean,
You're
like we all
welcome.
we all bully you sometimes. So, in all honesty, Warbler kind of does some of the payback. That and Mo. So, you get payback from the Twitch community for that. Tommy, tell us a little bit
Mm.
more about yourself and your connection.
Hi, so yeah, Tommy Brewer here. I am a educator out of Houston. I'm also an aspiring author, musician, game writer, everything like that. Um, Same thing. Connected through Paulette after meeting you. So kind of how why I'm here. Big love of horror. So it's been expanding since I met y'all,
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of been one of those things where I kind of was dipping my toes into it.
All right, all right. But the best connection, right here, right here. Tommy did not meet the best person until he met me. So let's just say that. All right, and Paulette, for you, tell the people about yourself.
All right. My name is Paula Herrero. I I met James through film school. That's how we met, and we still kept in touch after all these years. I've been working in the music industry for about 2 years, both in production and in hospitality. And I've been trying to get back into the filming game, but I just haven't had time because my schedule has been pretty busy. And as you can see, I love my music, I love my horror movies, and that's why James invited me to be here.
Exactly. That was one of the bonding moments, right next to me making a funeral joke at a school. Uh,
Oh, I
yeah.
forgot about that joke.
I mean that's the best joke. That's what got all of this started in a friendship. It's man who died in here and everything.
Yeah,
I,
I remember it's like first day of class, walking in, everyone's like super quiet because it's like the first day for everyone. And yeah, he just blurted out, "Man, was there like a funeral in here or something?" I don't know, or it's like a funeral, something like that.
yeah, it got Casey. I'm still in contact with Casey, and even he kind of
Um,
laughed at it like, "Oh my god!" And
and I haven't talked to him forever.
he does a lot of fishing and metal music. And
Yeah, I see his photos.
mhm. And Warbler, uh,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about yourself, your connection to horror, and myself.
Um. Well, I actually stream on Twitch, mostly video games. Been involved. Been a big horror movie watcher. I'm not in the film industry like you guys, but I've been watching horror movies. My aunt used to pick me up and take me to her house, and we would just rent a bunch of movies back in the day whenever you had Blockbuster, and you'd rent a bunch of movies, and we'd just watch them all weekend long and eat bowls and bowls of popcorn and soda. So I've been around for quite a while, born in '78, so I've seen a lot of horror movies, and I enjoy watching the horror movies. I feel like it makes me feel better that I know how to escape a massacre since I've watched the horror movies versus hiding in a closet in a house that the guy keeps walking, doesn't run. So I think I'm more prepared that way. And then how I met you is through X and Didi. Got me watching, recommended your stream, so I started watching your stream, watching your gameplay, watching your channel, and that's how we actually came in contact.
Uh, and Sydney, you can join any VC, and we will drag you right in. Our other panelist, Sydney, writes, uh, right here, folks. All you have to do is join any VC, and we will drag you right in. Game room or chill chat, and we'll drag you in. Uh, but yeah, while we're waiting for Sydney writes, me as the moderator, I am the Gothic storyteller. Most of the people high up above know me by my real name, James Howell. I run a horror movie, or not a horror movie. Do you want me? Yes, please move them into the VC chat. Thank you so much, D. Uh, they know me from film school. They know me through, you guys like know my real name through the podcast Cinema Alley, which I fucking advertise like shit on here. I advertise it so freaking much. Sydney, you can choose to be on camera or not. That is totally up to you. And yeah, me and Paulette, we went to the same film school that no longer exists as of, what, 3 weeks ago?
2-3 weeks ago, yeah, sounds about right.
Right around there. Doesn't exist no more. It feels kind of weird, but it doesn't exist no more.
Yeah, I still gotta pay off them loans.
Fucking bullshit. And Sydney, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your connections, to this community, and let the people get to know you a little bit.
All right. So I am a writer, if that wasn't obvious by my name. I have a degree in screenwriting, and I predominantly write fantasy and horror. Those are my favorite genres. I've been watching horror movies ever since an old babysitter of mine put on all the Nightmare on Elm Streets, and I fell in love with it from there. So I was like, okay. And then since then, I've become a little bit more of a critic since getting my degree, because now I know everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically just a lot about me. So yeah, I'm sure there's other stuff, but I have cleared storage up in my head.
Yeah. To mention Orchestra of Death's comments, casually flexing the glove that you mentioned Nightmare on Elm Street, and Cody's over here with the Freddy glove. He's just like, hey,
That was just pure coincidence.
Welcome in, Jessica Jones. But yeah, so we're gonna go through each year.
Signed by the man too.
Oh, really?
Nice. Oh shit! Yeah, that's right.
Is Robert Englund and who?
Yeah, just Robert.
Oh, it's just Robert. Okay.
Yep.
Nice and everything. So, moving forward, we're gonna go through almost each decade of the 80s except for 1980. We have 24 films that our lovely panel here has chosen, and they're gonna tell us, is it cheesy, trashy, or both, as well as give some thoughts, some stories behind the films, and why did they pick them as their favorite trashy, cheesy horror films. First on, we are going into 1981 with Scanners. Which one of you guys picked Scanners?
I did.
Okay, so why did you pick Scanners for your favorite?
Well, I saw it not that long ago, and to be fair, you did tell us to pick any cheesy horror movie. You didn't say that they had to be good, so...
Are you saying David Cronenberg made a bad movie?
No, I'm not saying he made a bad movie. It was just such a slow burn for me. I got bored watching it, I'm sorry. And then, like, when you got to, like, the final scene where it's, like, that psychic fight, it just gave me South Park vibes of when Cartman pretended to be psychic and then he had that psychic battle. And then in this case, the guy's head explodes. I'm like, okay.
I mean,
sure.
I can agree. I think probably the highest part of Scanners is watching Cronenberg, or watching Michael Ironside blow up that one dude's head, which we all learned it was a shotgun to the back. And then after that, it's like, yeah, what happens to the movie? What happens after that? Like, yeah.
Yeah, and then, I don't know, like, just, like, I can just imagine, like, being on set, just cringing at the thought, like, they still have to pick up audio and film, like, this guy just making weird, like, making noises, grunting noises while, like, doing this, trying to infiltrate, like, computers and all that shit. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Really? I would think this might be, like, one of his weakest films. Like, do I hate it? No. Do I like it? It's there, to be honest.
I didn't know that was David Cronenberg.
Yeah. Right. Although he had better films. Like, I watched The Brood the other day. I liked it. It was very killing.
That's a really good one.
Yeah, it was pretty creepy, for sure.
I'm on the boat here that one of my favorite Cronenberg films is actually Shivers. That's actually one of my favorite ones. Good one. And I saw that at way too young of an age. So it's all like, why are these people so horny?
All been there.
Go with Fly.
It's because they're able to get away with it with the rating system.
Especially in Canada. Especially in Canada. So, is it cheesy, is it trashy, or is it both?
I would say it's cheesy. I wouldn't say it's trashy.
Okay. Anyone
Definitely
else got any? Is it cheesy, trashy, or both for Scanners?
I haven't seen Scanner, so I really can't put any thought into it.
I
Yeah.
would say
The
cheesy.
only thing I have, the only memory that I have, or the only knowledge I really have of Scanners, is I have seen it's been on like bits and pieces. Is literally just the explosion scene, but it's to me that's like
That's the
just
only
one of
scene that gets talked about.
yeah, it's one of the most
Yeah.
iconic scenes of horror cinema, in my opinion.
It's the scene in the movie that something actually happened.
Yeah. And everything.
Hmm.
Well, believe it or
Yeah,
not,
that's why
so
I never watched it, because I just had a feeling it would be like slow ass burn movie.
there is another horror. I guess it's kind of horror film. Maybe it's more horror fantasy. I think it's called The Fury. Where it actually had it where it was two psychics, where it's this one boy psychic that is essentially killing off all these other psychics, and they kind of have a bit of pyrokinesis, and it kind of took the Cronenberg concept, but I think it made it much more engaging and better for a visual medium for a wider audience. That is for sure. I think it's called The Fury, if I remember correctly. Definitely check it out. I think it has David Warner in it. Yeah, that's definitely one. So we got, what, 2 votes for cheesy? One from Paulette and one from Sydney?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well then, we'll move it on then to 1982, Slumber Party Massacre.
Oh my god.
I'm just gonna say
I
straight
picked
off the
that
bat,
one.
both trashy and cheesy.
Both trashy and
Yeah.
cheesy?
Oh yeah.
For sure. Both trashy.
Mhm.
But let's
Okay.
get the deep.
Down.
So
I mean-
who picked that one?
I picked it.
Okay.
Of course he did.
All right, Sydney, what did you want to say something real quick?
No, I was just
Oh,
yeah. I
okay.
mean, it's another one of those situations where there's some memorable parts, but it's predominantly the end that people remember the most about it.
Kind of the reverse Scanners thing. Everyone remembers
Mhm.
the intro, but forgets the end.
Right.
Yeah. Cody, you picked Slumber Party Massacre. Why did you pick this film?
I don't know. It was like a couple of years ago. I got into the movie after 3 of the actors were actually at Cult Classic Convention. Brink Stevens was there, Deborah Delicio, and I forgot the guy's name who actually played the killer. But all 3 of them were there. Nice as hell. And I remember there's like a few funny moments in that movie too. Like when the 2 sisters are in the house and Deborah's character is already, done died. Her body's stuffed in there, and the younger sister, she opens the fridge door and her body slides, and you just hear that it just closes it back and just same noise again.
Definitely got
That
like
happens like
ADR.
2 or 3 times in that scene.
Okay. So yeah,
The soundtrack's pretty cool too.
What about it that you like about the soundtrack?
It's like one of those kind of classic 80s soundtracks,
Well, I
don't
think a
know.
classic
To me,
80. I think
it's just a very
Carpenter,
memorable
though.
one.
I think I like the synth stuff, especially from Goblin and everything. So, but yeah, I guess we already kind of testified cheesy and trashy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hey, we got Roger. I think his name Roger Corman. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, Corbin's
'Cause
made a lot of trashy, cheesy stuff.
Like
Oh, for
remember
sure. I
the
think that's like a
opening,
requirement.
like the opening scene. The shower bit where there's one thing that happens that really does not need to happen. Like so, just shot of woman taking a shower. Also, for whatever reason, it pans down to her ass and pans right back up. It didn't need to happen.
That was just the
Did not
cameraman
need to
being
happen,
cheeky.
but they did it anyway.
Quite literally being
No, I
cheeky.
think actually that scene in particular, because I know the director of the movie really did not like having to shoot that. It was basically just like, yeah, I kind of just had to put it in there because Corman made me. And she cringes at it to this day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of the few films I think on this list that is female-led direct.
Mm-hmm.
The
Let's
80s
go.
was definitely when a lot of female directors were taking a stand. Yeah, with that,
Yeah.
are we ready to move on into the year of 82?
Yep.
Yep. All right. So obviously, this next film, to me, it's the best of the entire franchise. We are
Thank
talking,
you.
of course, of Halloween 3: Season of the Witch. The
Well, yeah, it has
best,
nothing to do with Michael.
the
Yeah, I
best,
adore it.
the best entry and everything. The Silver Shamrock jingle, everything. Who picked Season of the Witch?
Cody.
Me.
Cody, again, you love the early 80s, don't you? I was trying to give your
Yeah,
voice a
seems
bit of a
like it.
break. But
He's also a huge Halloween fan. It's
Yeah.
obvious. Exactly.
But also too, I don't see him dressed up in any of the Silver Shamrock stuff. I don't see him dressed up as Cochrane.
Well, I heard those masks are very, very small, so my head would not fit in one.
We're gonna have to stretch one out for his head and everything.
Also, this is the last year to get anything Halloween 3 from Trick or Treat Studios.
Really.
Yeah, they're losing the license.
Oh, that's sad.
Thank you, NECA.
Okay, so then, why did you choose this other than that? You know,
This one,
it's the film without Michael.
Yeah, so when I was younger, yeah, I was kind of meh with the movie. As I got older, I got to appreciate it more. I'm like, you know what? As a standalone horror movie, it's peak. I It's cheesy because the overall plot and a couple of the kills, but it's a very funny, enjoyable cheesy.
Yeah. It's
I mean,
like
it's peak 80's with the music by Carpenter and Alan Howarth. Just yeah, it's a very underappreciated movie.
Yeah, like the one scene that gets me, because like anything like involving kids, dying, that I do.
Yeah, they had the
some
balls
type
to
of-
kill a kid.
Yeah, like I feel some type of way about that, but like in any movie, and it's just like the head rotting as this poor kid has to suffer through that. I'm like, oh, this poor kid.
well, how do we even know that he even feels it though? Because since that thing is like in the far back, how do we know it just doesn't deaden the senses? Like
Whoa,
Well, I mean, he was reacting.
yeah, he was reacting to it.
Yeah,
But it's like
okay.
the worst kind of pain is when like it's like something horrible's happening to you, but you can't feel it at all. I think that's scary.
Yeah. For real.
Warbler, was this like a film? Because I kind of like wondered with the age that you had growing up. You had the mom and pop running joints. Was this one of those films that got picked up for you, or did you?
Mean, we would rent out like by this time we would rent out. I mean, I was born in '78, so probably wouldn't have seen this, but we would have rented all like probably in the '88. We probably would have rented all of them that we could at that time, and we would watch them in sequence.
Oh, okay.
And do something like that. And something like this is like whenever you go back and you start thinking about it and you start watching it, like she said, with kids or how does it affected. I mean, now that I'm much older, my mindset and, I guess taking psychology in college, my mindset is like, how did this happen? Where's I mean, like, I'm interested in almost more of like the prequel. How did we get here? Where did this come from? Where did this turn in? How did this turn into this? And that's where whenever I watch like Season of the Witch or I go back and watch some of these old horror movies, I'm like, the demented state that this being or this person had to be in to do all this and to go through it. What is the reason for that?
Interesting.
We'd say, oh well, it's because they weren't loved or they weren't hugged enough. But then it's like, is that really the case? Or are there some bad apples out there that you really don't know about? Because I know in psychology class, I mean, and in criminal justice classes that I've taken, there's like an average of close to 370 serial killers in the United States at any one time.
Wow.
And they say that these are people that have killed and that just will never be caught because they're not spontaneous. They're very calculated. Whenever you start thinking about like older movies and stuff like that, I also try to remember what it felt like when I was a kid. So you guys are, deep diving into some of the stuff from what you've learned and what you've done. Some of the stuff I'm like, man, I remember sitting there eating, and this one scene scared me to death, and so that's what I look at when I think of this one.
There seems to be one thing missing in this discussion about this awesome film, and that is the film's lead.
Tom motherfucking Atkins.
Tom motherfucking Atkins. You cannot beat the stash. I think that right there can beat Tom Selleck and was it Magnum PI and everything all
Yeah.
in the fight. Yeah, like, you know, that's the ultimate I think 80's ladies man. Before, I don't really think Bruce really kind of came into it until the 90's. Bruce Campbell, for those of you guys that don't know.
Right.
I really do believe that Tom Atkins is the man of the 80's. It's not Magnum PI, it's not Miami Vice. No, it's Tom motherfucking Atkins. What are our thoughts, trashy or cheesy, on Halloween 3 Season of the Witch?
It's more cheesy than anything.
It's definitely cheesy.
Definitely cheesy. What about you, Sydney?
To agree.
What?
As much as it pains me, I'm gonna have to agree because I love this movie. But yes.
It's a very fun,
Cheesy.
enjoyable, cheesy
Mhm.
movie.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Right.
It's a good palate cleanser if you're doing like a Halloween marathon.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of like, all right, I've seen Michael, let's move on to something else, and then okay, I'm ready for Michael again.
Last minute thoughts though, real quick. Warbler, how did it feel watching Halloween 1 and 2 and then going right into 3? And then finding Michael's only being in that is being a television commercial. Did you feel like it was a good swift kick to the balls, or did you like, it's nothing? Oh wow, they fit Michael into a movie that had nothing to do with them.
It's
Young me
weird.
would probably been like, what the fuck? Me now, I'm like, that's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Being
what about
young,
you,
it's like you're thrown out. You know, you get those curveballs, and this was like one of those first ones that was like a weird curveball. You weren't expecting, like, there, and we'll talk about another movie later. This is the start. I feel like this is the start of the psychological curveball that is thrown. You know, so in the 80's, this is where I feel that we start setting up the psychological horror versus just a jump scare, or we start setting up weird sequences to make things strange.
Okay.
And that's what I felt like this one. And we'll get
It's
into
one of those movies where it
couple
was
later.
way ahead of its time.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, definitely that.
I definitely feel like Tommy Wallace gets way too much of a bad rap with this. I think for what, this is his first film? It's not a
Yes,
bad
like,
first film.
his first directed film.
Yeah, it's not a bad film, and I think he learned an awful lot from Carpenter. I don't know if Dean Cundey was on for cinematographer. or
He
not.
was.
He was. That's why it looks so damn great too. Dean Cundey.
Yeah, he did the first 3 Halloween movies.
Okay. Moving on from that, so I did not see Joe Bob's episode of this movie, so this one I'm completely like just I have no thoughts or anything, but Pieces. That's how we wrap up
Okay.
82. Why Pieces?
So this one I picked. To me, what I really like about this, well, this is definitely what I'm gonna give my vote right off the bat. This falls in both trashy and cheesy. To me, what really stands out about this film is it takes a lot of the, it's a good, like, kind of turning point for the decade. You still get a lot of that carry over from the 70's exploitation films into this with the current slasher kind of fittings. So if anyone who haven't seen this movie, it's fantastic. Off the bat, starts off, we see this young kid, and he's putting together this puzzle of a nude woman, and his mom freaks out. And then we get to see one of the greatest, like, garbage special effects of this movie, because there's a lot of them, where he kills his mom with an axe, but you never see it dig in. You can clearly tell it's a prop axe, and it just bounces off of her head. It's fantastic to watch. But the whole movie just has a lot of that 70's exploitation until you get to like the third act, which one of my biggest like gripes with this movie is how drastically the tone shifts, because you get that, you know, we get the classic slasher like throughout, you know, the entire movie. We're getting a whole whodunit, and then it turns into a buddy cop movie for the last like 30 minutes until we get to the big climactic showdown. And then the final scene, I can only describe it as like it has the same kind of effect at the end as the end of the first Friday the 13th, where Jason comes out of the lake. Because the entire thing is the killer is killing all these girls in a college town to kind of like Frankenstein together a meat puppet of his mother. And then at the very end, it gets revealed, and the last shot is this meat puppet coming alive and castrating the main character, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
I definitely gotta check out this movie. Like, oh my god, it kind of has like an element of May, because like May did the same thing too, where she was an outcast and she just started cutting people up to make her own, I guess, ideal boyfriend, if I remember correctly. But man, for it to come to life and castrate, oh my god.
Definitely Ed Gein inspo from that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, who all has seen this movie?
I've seen the kill count for it just to have like, just to brush through what the movie's about and everything. And from all the clips that they put in this video, definitely funny. Like, it's like the line delivery, especially many times they've said bastard. I'm just like, man, take a shot every time someone says bastard.
Is it kind of like the garbage day line from Silent Night, Deadly Night 2? Is it kind of...
No, it's like more dramatic than that. That's what made it garbage day.
And the one thing also that I noticed about this movie is there's a lot of weird ADR going on with it.
Yeah.
Like, very clearly, like, and you can, like, characters that are supposed to be talking, like, they are in shot, and it's just clearly not the same delivery, and it definitely will throw you out if you...
Yeah, and the mixing and leveling, it's like very off-putting, but we see that a lot in a bunch of these like very low-rated movies from back in the day. It's just like, yeah, why can't you get a better sound engineer to mix that for you? But I guess you ran out of money for it, I guess. Might as well do it yourself.
If you have that one shot where the axe just bounces off Mom's head and it's like...
Yeah.
You couldn't just put the light to the wall. You couldn't just put the light to the wall and then turn it away and have the shadow. And then you could have just had some poor asshole there with like a squirt gun just shoot the blood. Bam! That would have made that shot even better. Like,
I guess that might have been the better shot, or they must have had a bad day, or there was a mistake in the edit. Who knows?
Well, yeah. It was so many things that I started to wonder, wait, is this shit intentional? Like, because it's like, okay, it made me think of, I don't know, you guys probably haven't seen the show, but from the BBC called Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. Where it's essentially, it's a horror, like, hospital drama, and that's what it does. It intentionally makes bad cuts, bad edits, bad ADR, and it's just like, it's intentionally done, but it's framed to be like an 80s show. So it's like, that was what I was getting from that is, like, I don't know if they were trying their hardest and that's the best they could do, or if it was like, well, it's the 80s, we'll just see what sticks,
Yeah. Well, that's all what the 80s definitely was. Excess and what sticks. Warbler, what are your thoughts on Pieces? Have you seen this one?
I've seen this one, but it was so long ago. I mean, this was back probably when I was in 20s. And, much later than if I would have seen it in 82.
Well, so it was probably that traumatic that he probably forgot for good enough reason.
No, not even close.
But you guys did hook me with this. The axe bouncing off Mom's head scene, I want to see that. And I definitely want to sit there and see this weird Frankenstein creation castrate the villain of the movie. That definitely sit there and sounds like something fun to watch.
No,
God,
okay,
without that making it sound demented. But
hold on, I'm going to interrupt you. It's not even the villain. It castrates the main character because they already got the villain and everything. So the hero at the end doesn't even get a happy ending.
Oh my god.
So
that is literally how the movie ends.
Because he's castrated, yeah.
Oh my god. So now we're going to move on. It's 1983. God, I'm fucking up my year dates. Sleepaway Camp.
Don't be referencing our birth year here.
The only probably big film of 1983, because I can't think of anything else that came out that decade. Sleepaway Camp. I think almost all of us at least know its lead in some compass. I've had a conversation with her before in the past. Felicity Day. The twist ending. Felicity Rose, my bad. Why the fuck did I just say Felicity Day? Holy shit. I apologize. Everyone's over here, they're gonna fucking roast me. But yeah, Felicity Rose, Sleepaway Camp, the iconic twist ending at the end. Who was Sleepaway's pick?
This was mine as well.
This was yours. Why?
So, to me, like this is one of those movies where, like, for how bad a lot of it is, there is such a great charm to it. You know, like there's a lot of even legitimately good things about it. Like I love the score of this movie. The score of this movie just elevates a lot of the scenes that would not even really that would just make this your run of the mill cheesy horror movie into something a little better. Um but no, and there's just a lot about this movie I can rag on. You know, there's a lot of really weird line deliveries, especially from the aunt in the very first scene. She is just like
We didn't
acting like
talk
she
about
is
it. That was
not
fucking creepy.
she acts like she's not even supposed to be in a horror movie. I feel like she's
No,
tried out to be like Mary
not
Poppins or
very
something.
well.
Well, that's the thing. That's like her whole character. Because
Is
guess
Mary
what? She
Poppins?
always wanted a little girl.
Exactly. No,
That's
but
why it's so fucked up.
Now, I got
Yeah.
one thing I want to bring up from that movie. It's after the death of the one boy that was in the canoe.
Mm-hmm.
You see the cop, right? He has a normal mustache.
Yeah.
A normal mustache. At the end of the movie, he comes back, and you can clearly tell it's a fucking fake ass mustache.
Like, what happened to your mustache?
They didn't have
Probably-
CGI like they did with Henry Cavill and just
Yeah, it was the reverse Superman.
What probably happened is that they had to go back and do reshoots, and he probably shaved his mustache at that point, so they had to give him a fake one because it has happened before, especially with what was that movie? Samurai Cop.
Oh God.
Like
You're gonna give him-
I
you're gonna give-
cannot unsee it. Every time it happens, I'm just like mustache. Like that does not match you, my guy.
But yeah, no, and of course we cannot talk about Sleepaway Camp without talking about that twist ending at which it's so iconic.
The story behind it is like so fucked up from what I heard from Rose on the
Oh, yeah.
podcast Casualty
That they
Friday,
went into hiding.
where like they essentially just went to her mom and it's all like, we want to put this strap on your daughter, and she's like, all right, well, where's the paycheck? And like that's essentially that's a nutshell. Definitely go check out. I think it's the first or second episode of that podcast. It was very early on. But yeah, learning about that, I was like, you're shitting me, right? This violates almost every fucking rule today with working with children.
Yeah, I know. Like her mom was just not having it, and so instead they had a body double, to show the big reveal and everything. And from what I heard, the guy that was the double for that, he got fucked up after doing that scene. Like I'm pretty sure he got traumatized by that because of how unsettling it is, especially like the noise he had to make to.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, we gotta talk though, because that scene in particular. That is probably one of the most legitimately terrifying scenes I've seen in any horror movie. Like, I was rewatching it again the other night to get some notes for this, and oh my God, I was just like, I'm not sleeping tonight, and I gotta go to work in the morning. This is not good. But
Now I know that I can make the noise when he's not.
I am more than aware you can make the noise. You've been trying since I told you about it.
Oh, we
No,
got a little
It's the
discourse in
zoom
the
out
Discord.
shots with the fucking creepy ass mask.
Oh yeah, no, but yeah, like just the unnatural look of the face. Like that mouth is stretching almost to like inhuman proportions, I feel.
Yeah.
And it's just like the whole and the musical, and this is also something where the score does great work on emphasizing it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because that puts so much just extra horror onto that scene in particular.
It punches you in the face.
It really does.
And it's kind of sad that, because it's been a while since I've seen the first one, but I have seen some of the sequels, and that the sequels don't really live up to a lot of what this movie laid down for a foundation. It more or less, it just danced on the foundation a little bit, and it tried to add something, but in all honesty, it doesn't stand nearly as well compared to the first one.
No.
Cheesy and trashy. What's your vote, guys?
It's more cheesy.
More cheesy?
There's nothing really trashy that happens in that movie.
Other than the
there is a
curling,
lot of nudity.
yeah, and then there's the
And-
curling iron scene.
The curling iron scene,
There's-
and there's also the pedo cook in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned a curling iron scene, and all I can think of is I don't know if anyone's seen Ginger Dead Man, but there was one sequel in which he was on a porn set, and he used a curling iron, I believe so, as a way to go up a woman's and murdered her that way. And it's like only full moon.
That
there
is
had
legit.
there had been a
what
trauma
happened.
guy. There had to be a trauma guy on that set too, because that feels like a trauma thing.
Yeah,
My guy.
because the killer turned on the curling iron to the highest setting,
Oh.
and while the bitch was asleep, which to be honest, that kid had it coming. I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
No, she wanted to sleep. She was curling her hair already.
No,
He gets knocked the fuck out.
well, yeah, whatever. And then and just proceeds to put it inside her while it was still fucking hot. I'm like,
Yeah, here's what gets me. She
no.
opened it up too.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Ugh.
it was like one of those old school ones with like the clip.
Ooh. Yeah, okay, so I do understand why probably in 1993 we only had Sleepaway Camp as a real contender to probably be the top one for that year in independent horror.
The population needed some time to cool off before getting another one after that.
I definitely agree. There are some horror films out there that people wonder why it got such like a late sequel, and I was like, look at what that first film did. They had to be like,
How do you
look,
follow up with
we traumatized them enough. We gotta let them heal a little bit before we fuck them up even more.
Like, give us a cool down, please.
Yeah. Unlike the bits earlier, there was no cooldown, and my mouth is still feeling the pain. Oh my god. So, we're going to move on to 84. The only film to dominate that year, it seems, in this list. A Nightmare on Elm Street. Sydney, why did you pick this one?
I picked it because I thought it was cheesy, but in the best way possible. Because essentially what it is we have the introduction of a new slasher to this list of ones that we've already had. But this one, it's for the fact that, the cheesy one-liners, the kind of, awkward, scene stuff and kind of the story. It's just very outlandish for kind of some of the other slashers and some of the other contemporaries. But it's the kind of cheesy where it's like you can't not have fun with it.
True.
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 And so that's why I chose it, because I was like, if I had to boil it down to one thing, it was just cheesy one-liners. But, I still love it so much.
Because when we
It's,
saw the list,
one of my favorite horror movies.
when I sent out the list, legit, I did get some of the guys up above be like, how the hell is A Nightmare on Elm Street cheesy or trashy? And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to let Sydney hold court on this, because this is something I can get behind. Yeah, the one-liners are very cheesy, and the more you get into the sequels, minus two, because the second one was not funny whatsoever. But
I think you watching it, if you watched it when it was out, or you watched it maybe a year or two later, and you watch it in the time frame that it was in, those one-liners are pretty much through every movies and all movies at the time. Sort of like they're one-liners.
Yeah.
But now if you watched it literally like today, you're gonna be like, the technology is horrible. How could you even be scared at a movie like
Right.
this? The green screen, what was this? And look at the blood, it's so fake. But
Right, and I think when it came down to me choosing this movie, for some reason, as soon as I heard 80's, I thought of the slashers, the big, the icons, and I was like, well, Freddy does stand out as, compared to the other ones who are pretty much silent or just, grunting or whatever. So that's kind of where that came into me. But I think you're right. It is one of those things where it is kind of a product of its time, and it is kind of one of those things where, at the time it was probably absolutely terrifying. But, with hindsight now and how far we're pushing the envelope with horror movies now, like, you
don't get people like him. You don't get characters like that where, because Freddy was kind of like very much the first of his kind to be funny, be like a comedian, because like later on you would kind of get Chucky a little bit. Like Chucky had like a funny little thing, but he didn't really start hamming it up until The Bride, which was a totally different. Yep, right there. But and then I very much like how they even evolved the comedian of Chucky now, where with the TV show where I think it was a TV show where they found out that his when you find out like his son I think was gender fluid, and he's all like he's like, hey, I may be like a serial killer, but I'm not a monster, and everything. It's like I will still love and accept my son, and it's like it's because Chucky really ain't got no thing to talk about. He has no dick. He's like a Ken doll. And everything, and
although to be fair, like the longer he's in the doll body, the more human he's becoming in that form. So
wasn't there literally a plot point? I know we're diverging, but wasn't there literally a plot point where he did say he was anatomically correct?
Yeah, in Bride.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
oh my god.
Do you have a rubber? I'm made out of rubber.
Now I wonder on this movie, like Nightmare on Elm Street, how many of them went on, like that was one of their first movies. Like that was what put them on the map in some of those movies, in Nightmare on Elm Street. And the Red Door, that type of thing is what I mean, if I drive by a house with a red door, I immediately think Nightmare on Elm Street. It's like
the iconography.
Iconic. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's the same thing too if you find like a alleyway with a trash can and it's lit just right, and all you can think of is that one chick in her underwear and everything, and then all you can think of is Freddy be like, this is God, and
Like, was it Tina? I rewatched it the other day.
That was the one that she was up on the wall and everything, and her boyfriend woke up and he was like, what the hell? And
she was the first kill in the movie.
Yeah. Great introduction to Freddy Krueger and everything.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. So
the openings and making the glove.
Well, yeah, that one's a good one. But like that one I think like that really kind of turned heads because they're like, oh, this is going to be like a really serious horror film the way it's done. And in the moment you start seeing those jokes he's telling, it's like, wait a second. It's like, is he fucking really like, is this a stand-up act while fucking slaughtering these kids?
When you really think about it, like when you really think about it, he's the kind of serial killer that doesn't take himself that seriously.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He just has fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He might get a out of me before I get slaughtered by him, Like
like he even said, like the storyline, he needs the fear.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just kill the person right away, like just stab him with the machete, you can't live off that. So the storyline is that he needs the fear to live off, sort of along the same lines of It, or It and the whole that part of that genre. He needs that to survive in the storyline. So that's why he plays around with them.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's why he kind of plays with his food before going in for the kill.
That's probably one of the smartest things too, is they maintained that when they finally did the mashup of Freddy versus Jason, where it's like, no, they need to remember me, and that's the only reason. It's like a faded silent film starlet. They're like, I used to be big in pictures, like a Norma Desmond. And now no one's like, we don't know who the fuck you are. And so it's like, no, I will make you remember. And they feed off of that. But wrapping up for everyone, we all know Sydney's answer of cheesy. What are your guys' thoughts? Cheesy, trashy? Both?
Mostly cheesy.
Yeah.
Mostly cheesy?
Not a lot of trash.
I can't say cheesy because I grew up with it. And it was like, it was amazing on almost every front.
Yeah, and I don't think it's that cheesy either, but if I had to pick, it'd be cheesy.
I think when we start looking at the other sequels, like Freddy's Dead, I think that's when we really start.
The fucking power glove.
Right.
Dude, that's the best one. It's like, why didn't Nintendo use this man for like the power glove thing? I'm pretty sure it would have sold more power gloves. They still never would have worked, because But also, too, it's like all the kids be going outside, like playing with the power glove, and they're like, what are you trying to do? I'm trying to make old Lady Henderson walk out in the middle of that road and get hit by that car. I saw Freddy do it. And it's like, I think it has sold the wrong thing.
It's funny how they weren't allowed to have that in there, but the person who made that movie, they said, fuck it, put it in there.
Yeah. They're like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, fuck it, put it in there anyway.
Yeah, if they would have done that and maybe had like a tie-in game to release with it, that would have probably done something for it. But
Isn't
more
there a
than
it was an
tie-in game
interesting
though for
choice
it?
for
No.
the Power Glove.
Yeah,
No, no. I just mean a Friday the 13th game because
No.
I know there's a Halloween, there's a Friday the 13th one back on the.
Not back in those days.
Not back in the SNES?
back in those days,
yes.
no.
I think there was one for the NES, but it's very
Yeah, there is.
For
Not
Freddy,
Freddy, it was either Atari or Nintendo.
Yeah,
But it was
okay.
more like a,
Sorry,
it was
because I
more like a haunted
haven't
house
heard
theme
anything
than
about that.
anything.
yeah.
Because you fought like spiders and other shit. I'm like, what?
Yeah. It's funny whenever they started doing those games where, or the movie tie-in games, and it's like, it's nothing like what the fuck I saw. What the hell were these guys? I don't ever remember Batman fighting a spider or, stuff like that.
No, there was a Nightmare on Elm Street game for the NES, developed by Rare of all companies, the company that made the Donkey Kong Country games.
Huh.
Well, they did do Conquer, so I could see if they had done it now, I could see with them having come off of like Conquers, how they could have made a Freddy game work.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. You mentioned Donkey Kong, and now all I'm thinking is Freddy jumping through a platformer and getting shot out of a barrel. Come here, bitch!
Okay.
Oh my god. So moving to 1985, we got our guy Warbler here kicking it off. Silver Bullet. This is, I think, our only Stephen King? Yeah, I think it's our only Stephen King on this
there's
list.
Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah, there's Maximum Overdrive.
That's right. Okay, so this is gonna be the first one. Silver Bullet. Warbler, why'd you pick this one?
it was one of those movies that, for me, it was a cheesy in the fact that when I first watched it, I was like, holy cow, this is a person that is, is a Corey, and they're in a wheelchair, trying to run away from a werewolf, but then they got a super duper awesome wheelchair that goes like 100 miles an hour. You're still getting chased by a werewolf, and then at the time, I absolutely loved the movie. It was a great movie to watch.
Gary Busey.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a cool movie to watch at the time, and then now you're like, man, if they really did like a good adaptation, like an updated version, I think they could go so much farther. Yeah. The werewolf was like, the werewolf looked like a bear. I mean, in some parts, and then there's other parts you're like, okay, did I see the hand holding the head, or it was one of those, and you had a Corey that was in a wheelchair, which you didn't see that many, especially in horror movies, of someone in a wheelchair, incapable of going up a set of stairs, but can still kick ass. And it's like, what?
I was about to say, there's Franklin TCM.
I mean, it's one of those weird out of the box things. When you first see the movie or you first heard of the movie, Silver Bullet, you think werewolf, but you don't think of the character that's the main character.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
the first time I saw the werewolf, I was like, "What the fuck is that?"
Yeah,
but you gotta admit, wasn't
the wheelchair called the Silver Bullet? Wasn't that why they even called it that? They called
the one with the basically the motorcycle. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But they had an actual silver bullet at the end.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it all came full circle.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's all that Corey Haim could go at that time was full circle. So.
Pretty much.
Wow.
Also, was that movie made after Gary's accident or before?
I always thought he always looked like that.
Not about his looks, but how he just spoke and processed shit.
Oh, that's a good question. I have no clue. Because I remember he first came on big doing Buddy Holly, and then I didn't hear shit from
Predator
him.
2.
Yeah, he was in that one.
And he was fine. He was fine.
I also saw him in what was it? He did Predator 2. He did like another big film. Steven Seagal, Under Siege.
I think this movie might have been after his accident, because he's missing like a part of his brain now.
Well, that was in the 90s with Under Siege, so that was after the accident. So Silver Bullet probably had to been right before, or somewhere around there. It had to have been right around that accident. But yeah, no, like Gary Busey's delivery. he makes the character that's in the book, because I've read the book several times, because it was just supposed to be like a calendar, like a picture and a story of the week. Which, hearing the process, it's like, how the fuck is that gonna work? You know, even Stephen King thought, oh, that's fucking stupid. I'll just do this. And, you know, yeah, I kind of really do wish that when they adapt it, they just kind of followed a little bit. I was like, dude, it's all laid out for you. It's even, like, colored. Werewolf looks badass in this. There's a priest struggling with his faith, and he's having nightmares about werewolves, and his congregation's turning into it. I would like to see that. Yeah, no, the best we can do is shoot a Roman candlestick in his eye. And... Or no, it wasn't a Roman candle. It was a bottle rocket.
It was a bottle rocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to add even more to the silver bullet, the thing that can go 100 miles an hour, still being chased by a werewolf, and then you add, oh, but he used a bottle rocket and like blinded the fucker in one eye, and it's like, bravo movie, bravo. It's
We saw where the budget ran out. So
Yeah. For sure.
like,
Yeah, I just remember that scene of him showing him the silver bullet wheel change. He goes, ta-da.
But you know,
Chekhov's gun at the end of the movie.
it's funny though, because this wasn't really like the downward spiral of King movies. You would think like Carrie came out in the late
in
70s?
the 70s. In the
Oh,
70s.
But because
Funny you
79
mentioned
was Salem's
Carrie.
Lot, they had like a lot of really good King movies and miniseries going on. 1980s was the golden years, if I remember correctly. Is that or 89? It was the beginning or the end of the 80s. You know, so like kind of right there is when you really start seeing the cut to the budget. So what I really want to know, what hurt this budget so much? Was it a Corey? I highly doubt it was Gary Busey's paycheck. You know, they didn't have that many big name actors in there.
Probably because of all the special effects and the werewolf costume. That's where it all went to. You know,
They were
because there was like a
terrible,
lot of
though.
gory.
I think honestly, if it was anything, I think it was the Corey, and then how many of those wheelchairs did they have to build?
True.
And at the time, you're probably talking, $50,000-$60,000 a pop, and at that time, $50,000 or $60,000 is a lot of damn money. So
Yeah.
maybe you might have 2 or 3 of them.
Maybe. Yeah.
Oh,
Now
we
it's
don't
a
speak ill of the
COVID.
dead. I actually really like
since
Corey Haim's career.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Since you
Man.
brought up Carrie, I was told that the OG mom passed away.
Yes, she
Yeah.
passed away today.
Yep.
At the age, I think, of 93,
Yeah?
96, I believe so. I got the email from Hollywood Reporter about it. We had like, I think, 2 famous people pass away in their 90s today. I can't remember the other one. I think they were more of a producer or something.
The other day, it was like sometime this week they announced that the original Lois Lane passed away at the age
Yes.
of 96.
I
Yeah.
believe it was probably Thursday.
Mhm.
I think it was
Was
right
it
at the
Thursday?
beginning of my horror-thon. I believe it was Thursday. I was like, oh, the original Lois Lane died. And then like the chat's like, who? it was like, obviously they wouldn't know because it was so far back. You know, this wasn't your Donner, Richard Donner Lois Lane. God rest her soul.
I mean,
I'm not a Superman fan, so I really would not know.
well, I mean, if you're a fan of like superhero type of media, not just from the comics, but like movies and TV shows, I mean, you should know that there was the original show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually have, I think, like the first season of the original show on DVD.
You talking
Lying
about
around
the original Reeves or whatever? George Reeves?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an
I have it
iconic
lying
story to
around.
talk
It was
about for
a-
another time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a gift from someone, but yeah, it's lying around here somewhere.
So before we move on, cheese or trashy or both? Which is it for Silver Bullet? Let's go
Cheese.
first with
Easy.
Warlord.
That's cheesy.
It's
Cheesy.
laid on thick.
It's laid on thick. It's all that Gouda.
The werewolf alone is cheesy.
And cheese.
So,
Prime cheese.
moving on to probably one of my favorite films on this list, 1985's House.
Oh, this, if we talk about land, cheese on thick, we're talking about a cheese wheel here. It's,
I mean,
yeah,
one of the
it-
creature effects looks like she had way too much fucking cheese.
right. And for me, it's because, you've got this main character who's having like relationship issues and his son is missing. He somehow ends up having to babysit another kid, which I might have second thoughts if the person I'm like, hey, watch my child. Their child is missing. And we don't know
Yeah.
who did it or why. So there's that. And then it has this this kind of side story thing about guilt he has over his friend Big Ben, one of the antagonists of the movie, back in Vietnam, how he ended up dying because of all of that. And at the end of the movie, when they have the big showdown after he finds his son in that other world, they try to do Insidious before Insidious. And then instead of having like a moment where he like makes peace with it and does all this stuff, nope, grenade. It's amazing, but it's just like I look at it through the lens of like the A24 movies we have now, and I'm like, oh, there could have been like a real like serious and dramatic like scene about him coming to terms with what happened.
Yeah.
But thing go boom,
Yeah. Well, like, okay, so you mentioned the Insidious thing. This film probably had a lower budget than Insidious, and I still very much believe the world that was beyond. That was such a well done, special effects. Them going through it mixed a lot of good comedy with its horror. I mean, they got Norm from Cheers. He's the fucking neighbor.
Norm.
And I think that's what makes it great. Is the fact that with Insidious, there's a lot of buildup and there's a lot of like intricacies within it. This is just it almost seemed in a way like they were like, well, what can we do? I have a medicine cabinet. Just have them go through the medicine cabinet. It's just the suspension of disbelief that the 80s movies tended to have, where that it doesn't make a lot of sense, but you don't really care. You're just enjoying the ride.
Yeah.
So and I think that's what because House tries to do a lot of different things. And some things hit better than others, but all in all, it's just a really entertaining, like, get some friends together and just laugh about it kind of movie.
Mm-hmm. But see, you say that, like, it had, like, a lot to throw in, because you have, like, the Vietnam, PTSD stuff, you have Big Ben? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which, to me, I still think that's one of the best villain puppetry designs.
Oh, it's
for
iconic.
I love that look, even though he doesn't pop in until, like, the last... 30, 45 minutes? Somewhere around there? At least that look, because you get to see what he looks like in real life before you see this weird monster creation made out of probably the manifestation of the man's guilt.
Yeah, where we're going to do the same thing
you have,
with
like,
the wife.
All of that, the missing child, the love interest, which, again, is odd. You're falling in love with a man whose child's missing, and yet you let him babysit your kid. Yeah, great parenting there on you there, Mary Sue.
That's trust falling when no one's looking.
But you have all these elements in here, and still somehow it works. Even if not all of it hits its right mark, it all works. So why the fuck couldn't David Gordon Green do that for The Exorcist?
Because, there has to be some, like, grand, like, they care more about the iconography and the, like shots, because it did have some good shots in the new Exorcist. Some of the shots were really well done.
Yeah, but
they didn't focus on what made they didn't focus on what made the original Exorcist so iconic and so amazing. They failed to capture that essence, and I think even now they're saying, the sequels we're going to retool and redo everything. Like
and they're possibly
know,
throwing
like,
David out because David may not even direct it again, and it's all like, David, go back to the Indies. Studio films are not helping your credibility. It's like, I believe he can tell a really good story, but maybe they should have looked at House 1985 and instead of looking at 100%. All those old scripts that were never made of Exorcist sequels and early drafts that maybe there was some material, not added.
Hashtag bring back the original.
I'm so hesitant to watch the new Exorcist.
I still want to watch it.
You should, old man screaming at the sky.
Mm-hmm.
No, like, I keep trying to avoid people talking about it. Like, people are saying it's good. People are saying it's shit. I'm like, I need to avoid the internet for like a month until I'm able to watch the fucking movie because I want to so bad.
We will go watch it.
Yeah. I still don't understand our buddy Chris over here. It's like, I'm not going to go see it in theaters, but you know what? I'm going to pay over the amount of time, over the amount of price it costs for a movie ticket to go fucking just... I was like, dude, you could have spent less money. It's like, well, you'd be spending more money with the popcorn and the drink. Just get the fucking drink.
Yeah.
You don't have to get the fucking popcorn. That
doesn't
cost so goddamn much.
Oh boy, Father Karras tattooed on me. I will watch this movie. I will say
watch it. Like, it's not an unwatchable, but
yes.
There you
yeah, iconic.
Why you do this to me?
Yeah, but
you do this
what I will say is it's because you set yourself up for a Herculean task when you say, okay, scrap all of the sequels that we've had thus far, and just this is a direct sequel.
Yeah.
Because then there's a lot of pressure for it to just knock it out of the park.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you're saying you're going to do it better than all of these other sequels, so you have to deliver on that.
But
The most consistent thing I have heard is first half is great, 2nd half.
Yeah, I would sit there and say that. I would
But yeah,
say that.
one thing I cannot say.
But I don't
That's
feel
what
like
I
I hate
was-
it. I don't feel like I
That's
hate
what I
it.
heard consistently.
But it could have done better. But moving to a sequel that was even better, House 2, the second story. Very unoriginal subtitle, but like that movie was even better. To try to get us back over onto the house trail because we only have so much time and we can't shit on David Gordon Green too fucking much.
I could do that for 4 hours, but
Is that the actual name of House 2?
Yeah, it's called The Second Story. House 2, The Second Story.
Yeah, I just looked
That's
up because I
great.
needed to see pictures so I know what we're talking about.
And it's even funnier because
Oh my
I think
God.
with the first film it's just the one extended finger poking the doorbell. House 2, I think it's just 2, but it's poking. It's still answering the doorbell and everything. So
it was hilariously self-aware.
yes, and I feel like most sequels need to kind of have that. But to move on because we're only halfway through 85 and we only have so much time. What are our final thoughts on House? Cheesy, trashy, or both?
I've never seen House, so I can't
I
say
haven't seen
nothing.
it either.
That is so depressing, Cody. I have so much faith lost in you.
I'm sorry, it's fallen under my
Look it
radar.
up, but the one movie I found is the one in '77, and it's on Max. I thought like it was about that, but then I looked at the date like, oh no, wait a minute, no, this is '70s. This is '80s version. Okay, it's
Yeah.
not on.
It is definitely like overstuffed quesadilla level of cheesy.
Yes,
Oh my
the
god.
14 quesadilla type of cheesy.
So this next one, I definitely cannot wait to hear the defense on this.
boy.
Wait. Oh, hold on. I actually jumped over it. My bad. The Howling 2. This was Tommy's. Tommy, why did you pick
Oh
The
my
Howling
god.
Oh god, here
Oh
we go.
my god.
Oh, I've been wanting to talk about this one. Oh my god. So I
Man.
discovered this movie several years ago from an old YouTuber I watched, and initially just one of the worst things put to film. But
Agreed.
it's this just an overall cheesy fun ride of a werewolf movie where you get Christopher Lee teaming up with the OG Captain America, Reb Brown, the 80s action star that never managed to make it, unfortunately.
Because he wasn't that good.
It's because he did the Howling
I
too.
know, but I would say he's better than Seagal.
That's
Yeah,
a low bar.
okay, yeah, anyone's better than Seagal.
But the thing of this movie is I was rewatching this one again. I rewatched all the movies I put on the list to refresh my memory, and this one, the entire time I was thinking, God, they got Christopher Lee on this. They just wanted to make a vampire movie and just threw a werewolf skin over it. There's so many scenes where it's just like the initial scene we get where we get the first werewolf encounter is him staking one of them with a silver spike, and then they go to Romania or to Transylvania specifically to deal with the rest of the werewolves. I'm like, you just wanted to make a werewolf or vampire movie because you got Christopher Lee in here.
Yeah.
But the acting is just like, and Lee is trying his hardest. You can tell, like, he knows this is shit, but he's still gonna give it his all. And everyone else is just there.
They were after
I
that
know,
hammer money.
That's one of the worst sequels I have ever seen.
I don't know. There's plenty of other Howling sequels that I can.
I said that I have seen.
Oh,
I
I
have
was
seen.
about to sit there and say, what is it? I think it's the third one. It's the marsupials. Oh God,
See, I like that one.
that was trash. It made 2 look like it could have been contended for the Oscar.
The Oscar or the Red?
It's just, I think the big thing about this movie really is just Christopher Lee being here. There's so many parts that I love with him. Like, there's one scene in particular where they have this, like, new wave club going on, and the song that plays throughout the entire movie gets introduced there, and he's there being undercover, dressed up as your typical old man, button-up shirt, khakis, all that, and then they put these weird 80s sunglasses on him, and I'm just like, this is not something I ever imagined seeing Christopher Lee in, but goddamn, do I love it.
Slaughtered Nazi war criminals.
Yeah, this is the same one that
descendant.
witnessed the last public guillotine,
Oh yeah.
public execution.
Exactly.
And
Like,
he's over
lives
here
a
with little
wild
80s.
life.
He's like little 80s glasses, and he's like, I'm living my best life.
Randy fell face like,
For real.
you're not making this shit up.
Yeah, because I feel like maybe he was just like kind of trying, like, not winding down his career, but he's like, I made all these fucking Hammer movies. I fucking made it as a horror icon. I don't really need to work. My legacy's set. What the fuck's gonna be the matter if I make this movie?
if you,
Then
if
Then
you
Lord of the
don't,
Rings happened.
yeah, I was gonna say, if you don't love me at my Howling 2, you don't deserve me at my Sauron.
Exactly.
And Star Wars.
Oh,
Don't forget
man. But
Town-
it isn't just him though, because I do have a soft spot in my heart for Red Brown for his just over the top delivery. Like, that's why I call him the 80s star, the forgotten star of the 80s. He just has that over the top energy, and every time he's in a scene where he has to yell or scream, he is throwing everything into it, and I fucking love it. He sounds like an absolute madman every time.
He really put his theatrical experience into it, that very evocative, dramatic thing. Even sometimes when I was like, oh, this feels a little out of place, but it's Christopher Lee. I'll let it slide.
I'll still sit there and say that your hidden 80s action star will still get his ass whipped by Tom Atkins every damn day of the week and twice on Sunday.
He just needed to come into every movie and just smack somebody at the end of it, just to reinstate that point.
And after he's done smacking them, then all of a sudden there's a knock at the fucking door and he answers it, and it's Tom Atkins with a cigar or a cigarette in his freaking mouth, and there's fucking zombies in the back, and it's like the real heroes arrived.
The
Right.
80s multiverse.
Pretty much. So we cheesy, trashy. Which are we going?
I'm going both.
You're
it's
going both?
definitely both.
Okie dokie.
Because it has a lot, there's the cheese with all, Christopher Lee just being involved in something that clearly is just not him. But then it's also there's just so much trash about this movie too. The acting's not great. There's so much gratuitous nudity and sex. Even by the standards.
Remember the
of
end credits?
It's the 80s.
Even
Remember
even by the standards of the 80s. Even still, I would say it goes a little bit
It's one of those
far.
movies where it probably should have been a softcore, one
Yeah.
of those kind of movies, but it wasn't.
Yeah, yeah.
We got
Tell us about your little softcore porn adventure. Yeah.
Oh my god.
We got the Howling 2 in the back room. You're gonna have to be 18 or over to go to that one.
Right.
So, but wait, was it in the second Howling or was it in the third one with marsupials that you had that weird orgy scene?
No, it was
Was
the
it
second
three?
one.
Oh, was
It
it,
was
the second
two.
one?
Okay, 3 was marsupials, but that was 2.
That
Okay.
was two.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on. This is again
Credits.
another one. I'm
Credits
shocked.
in Howling 2.
It's a shocked one that's on this list. But you know what? I could sit there and see it. But Fright Night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, this one I'm like, really?
Tell us
Really?
about Fright Night,
Well,
Paulette.
that's-
Okay. I am a fan of vampire movies. It's just more. It's just man, I've seen it a long time ago, but I just remember it's more of how the villain kept presenting himself seemed pretty cheesy, and especially fuck, I had to remember because I had to I gotta go back into the vault of my brain. Also, the special effects, I think they were pretty cheesy for what they were, especially when the girlfriend turned into the vampire. I'm
I love that. I still
That
think
was
she's hot.
intentional.
But
I
it's
still
pretty
think she's
cheesy.
hot.
That was intentional.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
But no, to me, it's one of those cheesy / trashy kind of vampire movies from the 80s that I just love so fucking much.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I could definitely, because when I saw it on the list, the first one I thought of was the main
remake.
character's best friend that got turned.
Yeah.
the,
Goofy
with the
one.
cross in his
Yeah.
head.
You're so
Yeah.
cool, Brewster, and like I was like,
Yeah.
that's a very cheesy line and everything.
I
And
mean, the main
That whole
character
character is
had to ring
cheesy.
up his favorite actor to come and help him kill his neighbor.
I think that was supposed to be
This
Christopher
is
Lee,
peak
right?
80's.
Or Peter Cushing, because I think they were trying to get those guys in that role, if I remember right. I know that there's a bunch of films
Maybe.
of like the late 70s and throughout the 80s where you can look at it and you definitely can tell. I can see Sir Christopher Lee, I can see Sir Peter Cushing playing those roles,
Mhm.
but they could not afford them because either one was sick or one just didn't want to do the role because he's like, oh, that's trashy. I'll go do Howling 2. And so it's like, yeah, like when I look at that, like with the TV host, I do think of like, oh, that could have been Peter Cushing or Sir Christopher Lee as the neighbor, or hell, even Vincent Price. You know,
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, definitely. Know what's so funny? In one of the newer Scooby-Doo shows from the last couple of years, Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated,
Mhm.
they did create like their own version of Vincent Price. Sounds
Vincent Van
exactly
Gogh.
like him. Yeah, Vincent Van Gogh.
Yeah.
And I think it was like in the first
Fitting.
episode that we got introduced to him is when he has to deal with this monster called the Night Fright, and he just kept saying it and saying it. I'm Night Fright. It's
Oh
just
my
like
god.
super cheesy, but I fucking love it.
Funny you bring
So-
up Vincent Price at the 13th floor. There's a gift shop, and there's a shirt I want. It's a big old
Ooh.
picture of Vincent Price with his birth date and death date on
Aw.
there. It's like, I need
Aw.
that shirt.
Well, my mod Jessica Jones got to meet last night. Got to meet Vincent's daughter Victoria, and for like a early Christmas present, I believe she went and she got me the Cooking Price Wise, and she got it autographed by Victoria. Fucking made my night. So I got a little
It's the
bit of
closest thing you're
horror
gonna get to a Vincent Price
royalty.
autograph.
Huh? Yeah, and
That's
it
the
does have a
closest you're
Vincent
gonna
Price
get to
one.
Vincent
It
Price
has it in the
autograph.
book, so it's Vincent Price's autograph that's just printed, and then it has like a little note from Victoria, and I was like, oh my god, I was like, I fucking love this. I cannot wait to fucking get it and start cooking out of that book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to get it so bad.
So,
Oh, yeah.
Fright Night, cheese, trashy.
Cheesy.
Cheesy.
Nowadays, I would say it's cheesy. At the time, no.
Okay.
It was,
It's a
fair.
really good movie.
nowadays,
Sydney?
I would definitely say it's a cheesy movie. I mean, just the special effects. But
Yeah.
What about you, Sydney?
I agree, cheesy.
Cheesy.
The
All
fucking
right.
bat.
So this one, I swear to God, it's gonna be all around cheesy on the board. The
Yeah.
stuff. That's how we close 85 out. The
The
stuff.
cheese in this one is just as
I've seen
thick
enough
as
clips
the
to know
stuff.
this movie.
I
Yeah.
love this film. It's Larry Cohen's best. Who picked the stuff?
I did.
Oh, okay. Then introduce us to the stuff.
So the stuff is basically, well, it teaches you on looking at your food labels. Just saying. So basically, a bunch of guys found, this substance, like this thick white substance, and they decided to sell it. To eat it and all that stuff, like yogurt. Like you can do anything with it, really. But it wasn't becoming a problem until it started. Wasn't it like it's kind of like the blob type of situation where
Yeah.
the substance is coming
more
to
It-
life?
yes.
It's been eaten by such a mass populace now that it, in a sense, has become super sentient to the point that it controls everyone.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the blob in a sense, but it's like you're literally eating it and you don't know what it is, and that's why it's called the stuff.
But are you eating it, or is it eating you?
Exactly.
Oh my god.
That was actually on the poster, so yeah, it's like
Yeah, it's
Invasion
like
of the Body Snatchers meets the Blob.
The Thing.
There you go too.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like one of those movies when I was finally getting into it more and more when I was a teenager. Because like really, I haven't started watching horror movies till I was like consistently until I was like 14, 15 years old, and it's because of my dad's influence because he's more of a horror nerd. My mom never liked it at all. So this is a product of my dad.
So
Yeah.
it's Daddy's
And then-
fault.
Yeah, and what was it? So he basically, when he noticed that I was starting to get into horror movies, because it was like we just got Netflix at the time, and they had like the best library, and I could just watch it however many times to my heart's content until they got rid of it.
The good old
And
Netflix.
yeah, what's funny? It was back in the day when they had the Netflix app on the Wii, the Nintendo
Oh
Wii.
yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I was watching Netflix at the time. It was these cheesy horror movies, like The Stuff was in it, including almost the entire library of Stephen King movies that they were able to put in.
That's where
And
you had to wait for your movie to come from Netflix, and then you mailed it back out.
we didn't have that luxury until like we were able to afford the subscription when we moved to Houston. So I was just so excited. That's where I also watched Evil Dead 1 and 2. Yeah.
Did
It
you
has
ever
a special place in my heart, for
did you
sure.
ever see any marketing Warbler for the stuff?
No.
No. Okay, so it was that low budgeted.
Yeah.
They put
I mean,
all the
I'm
advertising.
in the middle of the country, so no.
They put all the advertising into the movie, but forgot to actually put the advertising outside of the movie. You know, because you've seen it, right?
Yeah, I've seen it, but I've never seen it in theaters. I had to see it later.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, because yeah, like throughout the film, I enjoy how that movie legit just added product placement ads right into it. It's like you kind of wonder how much of it is like, did they do this just to fluff it out? Yeah, no pun intended. But at the same time too, it's like no, because it's such a good commentary on consumerism that it's like, dude, we already know you got the fucking ticket. You're sitting in the fucking chair, but you know what? We're gonna throw another ad right at you. And
Yeah, and it's sorry, keep going.
No, that was it.
That was it. Yeah, because like this is like also one of those movies where like I start to notice like, okay, horror movies are not just for like, to scare you and all that stuff. It's like in my opinion, it's like the most versatile genre that that you can get into. You could just like slap in whatever scenario and then put a horror twist into it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just this is why like I gravitate towards more on the horror genre because of how versatile it can get with any media that they can come up with.
Okie dokie. Yeah, I definitely agree when it comes to the genre, and this is probably one of the best films to represent that genre. Of like people are like horror movies can't be smart. It's like you've never seen The Stuff, sir. You always want to know why they call him Mo because he always wants money, and whenever he sees money, he always wants Mo. That's the best fucking intro to a fucking character. His name's Mo. And one of my moderators, I use that every time he comes in. It's all like, you know what they call him Mo? Because every time he sees money, he always wants Mo.
Both show.
It's smart. It's so smartly written. People look at it as, that's dumb. It's like, it's smart. It's dumb that you know how simple it is.
Yeah.
So, any final thoughts for The Stuff? Cheesy, trashy, both?
Oh, it's hella cheesy.
Yeah.
Again,
Come on.
the cheese is as thick as
I
the
still
stuff.
remember that one fucking scene towards the end. It was like a god awful green screen.
Yeah. I
They
think
go
I
in
know
that
exactly
fucking
what you're
tunnel,
talking.
and I'm like, that does not. The stuff looks way bigger than it really is.
Yeah. When Paulette was trying to figure out what was like a way like yogurt and everything, it's like, well, if we're gonna keep the subject of cheese, it's technically cottage cheese because you could throw cottage cheese into anything and boom, there's your meal.
Also, my buddy just texted in the chat trying to select a movie with an unstable Wii remote.
So we wrap up, or we ended 1985. So now we're definitely gonna get into some cheesy, trashy films. 1986 is Critters. Who picked the Critters?
Yeah, I picked Critters.
All right, why?
I mean, I remember actually seeing it at the theater when it came out. I mean, it was
Okay.
one of those that I want to see it because it's a outer space movie, and in the 80s they had a lot of outer space stuff going on.
Mhm.
But these were outer space critters that could eat you and shoot poison darts at you, and then you had these
They get bigger.
shape-shifting heroes fly down to try to kill them and to capture them, and
I don't know about
one of them, it doesn't have a face but has big boobs, and you're like, the rocker hair, the 80's, rock hair, and I mean, it was massive cheese. I mean, it was at that time it wasn't, now you could definitely say it was trashy. I mean, it's sex appeal, it's rock, it's drugs, it's everything, But at the time, it was one of those movies you're like, okay, we've seen all these cool outer space movies, but now we get to outer space horror movie. So that was also a different genre or different take on it. And then, of course, then they just go crazy with it because it did okay at the box office and made some money. Well, then, of course, they have to just keep bouncing it around and making more of them. So
Yeah, but the
They need,
sequels
like,
actually got
4 or
better though.
5.
Did
Huh?
they?
I mean, come on. How many films? How many films do you see open on Church Day and it's Easter and the guy dressed as the Easter Bunny on church is getting eaten alive by these things? And then the kids are like, "We're ready to go Easter egg hunting," and they're like, "Oh my god!" And the guy's like, "Ah!" And it's like they're like on his balls and everything.
Oh.
They're eating him. And then
Right.
you look
Also,
at the third one. They're
the fact that they talk and you have subtitles to read what they're saying.
I know.
Yes.
Gremlins got nothing on them.
yeah.
Right.
And then even in the third film, you had Leonardo DiCaprio almost getting eaten by one. That was one of his first films that he doesn't talk
Right.
about. It's like the
Yeah.
Jennifer Aniston Leprechaun story.
Yeah.
It's, when I
Funny
meet
to
Leo
that
in
movie.
person, I'm going to ask him, I don't care about your Oscar-winning and Killer of the Flower Moon. I have the much more serious question to ask. Were you going to get
Will
killed
you
off
sign
in
my
Critters
Critters
3?
poster?
Yeah, or there you go. Sign my Critters 3 poster, which you're, 10 minutes of actual film time in that?
Right.
It was a very small role, but nonetheless, it's like this kid in only another decade is gonna deliver one of the biggest cinematic questions of could he really fit on that fucking plank with Rose on Titanic? Like,
No,
I
I
think he
think-
could have fit.
No,
I think-
good. They did the math.
I will say Critters 3 was very good because it finally answered the question of what's eating Gilbert Grape.
That was a good one. That was a good one. Oh my god. So,
Wow.
Any theater story for Critters? What was there like something like I guess like the spontaneous of? I know you kind of like went through like this was coming from space, a lot of space, and we're seeing
This was just one of those. I mean, you had a lot of horror movies really picked up in the 80's. I mean, I was born in '78, so by this time I was actually going. These were movies that I shouldn't have got into, but my aunt or my mom took me to because my mom loves watching B-rated, C-rated movies, all types of movies. She has thousands and thousands of DVDs and such. But I mean, this was one of those that oh my god, I was a little kid and I remember seeing like the trailer and the poster was really cool because it was like outer space and rock and roll, and I mean it really drew you into, well, I want to see this. And got to remember, we don't have the internet, we don't have anything. You basically, it's the cover of the book that sells you the freaking show. You might maybe get a trailer, or you go to the movies and you get great trailers to see the movies that came out. Now you just pull up your phone and say, "What's that?" But back then, it wasn't the way it is. You seen a trailer, a snippet, and you're like, "Man, I really want to see what goes on next." They sold this movie so well. The first Critters was very well done in branding and selling and trying to get it out there.
Yeah,
And
I
That's
don't
what
even,
really drove me to it.
like I don't even know how my dad was able to have access to watch all these movies because he grew up like very Catholic and he went to middle school and high school in the 80's, and he would just like watch any horror movie that would come out. I don't even know how he got into it to begin with.
He
It
knew
was
a guy
very
who knew a
lax.
guy who knew a guy.
Yeah, I could walk in as probably a 10-year-old. I could walk into these movies. And most people back in those days, you were latchkey kids. My mom would give me $5, and she said goes to the mall, and I'm gone for hours till my mom comes to the arcade to pick me up. I mean, I could go see a movie, and I have. And I don't want to tell my mom that I went to go see a movie, but yeah, I'm just like, here, money, popcorn, so.
And to add to the Critters Titanic connection, Billy Zane's in this movie with that really crappy ponytail. And then, of course, he gets eaten. Because you know why? Because he was an asshole in Titanic, too, and he deserved, to lose
Deserve what he
Rose.
got.
Yeah, he deserved what he got in Titanic. I don't give a fuck.
All of his variants are paying for his misdeeds.
Just cowboy shit.
I mean, his whole career is paying for his misdeeds. Like, name one
That's
A
true.
picture he's done since what? I think post 2000. I think everything he's done has been a C-rated film, and it's like, dude, what happened to you? You were in Titanic. You were a dick to Leo, and is this how the world repaid you? It's all like, you can't be a dick to Gilbert
Well,
Grape. You know,
like the Titanic, my career sunk.
You were mean
Oh my
to
God.
Leo. That's a no-no. Now you're down to shitter.
Exactly.
I'm sure
Oh
there's
my
an
God.
iceberg detailing his downfall of his career.
Oh my God. So, obviously obviously trashy. Is that how we're labeling it?
Yeah.
I'd say
Warbird?
now. Yeah, now I definitely
Yeah.
would.
Okay,
Yeah.
so moving on to our next entry in 1986, Chopping Mall.
Yeah, I picked that one also. It actually tried to come out, and I remember this as Killer 5.
Because that was actually on my original
Yes.
list.
Yeah.
I
And
remember.
the weird thing is that this came out at a time when people were scared to death of technology. Technology was coming and at a very strange speed. So you actually have computers now. And then you had in 84, we had Terminator. And then we actually had Short Circuit earlier in the year. So it's like they tried to piggyback off all this
Tech stuff.
robots and tech and everything. And you had, a security robots in a mall that take it over and kill people while they're having sex and trying to steal stuff. And it was one of the cheesiest movies I remember. I remember even like pausing and going to get stuff. Usually when I watched a movie, I'm locked in. I've got my soda, my popcorn, whatever I'm going to eat, and locked in. This movie, I'm like, okay, I'm going to pause. Oh, boobies. Okay, I'm pausing again. I'm going to go get boobies. And, girl in her underwear. It's like robots chasing them. And it's like, okay, I just seen Terminator 2 years earlier. Now I seen Short Circuit earlier. It's like, God, you could see the difference in, a horror flick trying to be
Modern?
yeah.
Or
It was
at
so
that time.
it was such a Short Circuit was done really good, had good tech, good, everything, and then you get this, and it's like budget was so low, and it's like were they trying to just piggyback off of that?
Yeah. And which that
title's
tends
very
to happen.
misleading.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. The title and in the poster, because even when I saw it on Joe Bob, I'm like over here. It's like, oh, this is gonna be another slasher film because I remember it was like a severed hand and it had an axe. And as I'm watching it, I'm all like, what the fuck is this? It's like, did Shudder fuck up and like post the wrong movie? And
Nope.
and
Maybe
no,
you've seen
I looked it up.
across.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The only thing
yeah.
that saves this movie is Dick Miller. Iconic
Yes.
Dick Miller, the man of cameos, the man of the
Well,
80s.
Yeah.
I don't
yeah.
know Barbara Crampton.
And this is what's her name's first film right before RoboCop. I can't remember her name now.
Was it
that
Barbara
played in
Crampton?
RoboCop. Yeah.
Kelly.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
I'll Google it right.
Please
Yeah,
do.
she was actually in this, and
I got it.
this is
Okay.
where she got her role for RoboCop.
I got it. Which girl was it again? The main one? Or
Yeah.
What
the actress is Kelly Maroney.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
Kelly
yeah.
Maroney.
Right.
Didn't she have she had a big TV role if I remember right? Wasn't it? Wasn't she also a big TV actress as well?
I don't
Um,
know
I
on that.
think
I think it was later.
It probably had to been later in his career because Chopping Mall, RoboCop.
Yeah.
Because she was in I think all 3 RoboCop films.
This was like one of those movies that it was sort of like a bait and switch.
Yeah.
I mean,
she
even
was
the
in Murder,
poster.
She Wrote.
But
Oh,
I
that
also
was
kind of
those
felt
robots.
like a lot of kind of like the Roger Corman stuff where they would devise the poster first, and it's like, okay, that's the concept. Now go make the movie. Well, what
Yeah.
the fuck's a chopping mall? What are we gonna do? And so they came up
Robots
with
that
one
shoot
really good
lasers.
idea. It has nothing to do with the poster, but they're like, it's too late. Fuck it. No one's gonna give 2 shits. Throw it in there.
Yeah.
A lot more
Exactly.
blasting and
Bro,
little
you
less
could totally-
chopping.
You could put those robots in an old ass Japanese kaiju movie and just beat them up.
Yeah.
They would fit.
And you know what's funny?
This is definitely like just trashy and cheesy and just wow, I can't believe this made it all the way to, even the internet. Wow, that's made it to
Yeah.
the internet.
I believe I think the robots that were used in this movie also I think they were the inspiration for the robots in Puppet Master 5. I think they were reused because they all look the same.
Maybe.
They all look like just like it looks like they just took a vacuum cleaner. They took the handle off. And they just pretty much just chop off the whole top thing and they just smoothed out the head. And it was like, there's our robots. Go have fun. They're going to electrocute, set you on fire, shoot laser bolts. Which, I'm sorry, but that one kill where the woman is banging on the glass and then bam, shoots it. I was like, is that it? Holy shit. Like, it was that cheesy and bad. And I was like,
Right.
Oh yeah.
so
Have a nice day.
what's the decree on this film?
Oh,
Cheesy.
it's completely trashy.
Was
Trash.
the one that was
A lot of trash.
cheesy.
Yeah, I wouldn't use hard.
There's
It was a
cheese in
little
there, but
cheese
it's
at the
very
little
trash.
bit of very light cheese,
Okay,
but
so
mostly trash.
I can guess then on our next one because we're doing Maximum Overdrive.
Yes.
Who picked that one?
Maximum Overdrive started.
I mean,
Sorry,
really,
I had to throw in the Archer reference.
I'm
but,
sorry though, but like the only thing that to me when I think of Maximum Overdrive, it's not Emilio Estevez. It's not the chick who did the voice of Lisa Simpson. It's Stephen King looking at an ATM machine and saying, "Honey,
Yes.
this thing called me an asshole."
An asshole. It's
And the
also
soda
just-
machine kill.
It's
The
not
soda machine
wrong
kill is
either.
good.
Yeah, the soda machine kill was intense.
Dick shot, then headshot. So technically, it was both headshot.
No, this is yeah. I don't know, this is I think this is the last one of the ones I picked, but no, mine's Blood Rain. But no, I just love this movie to death. Just so cheesy. The AC/DC soundtrack really helps out with a lot of it.
Oh, that is what.
Right? It is also just so, it's interesting seeing Stephen King actually direct a movie that's based on one of his books. I think this is the only one he ever did that for.
Yep.
If I remember.
It's the only one.
The Shining pissed him off that much.
But no,
Like, that's it. I'm putting my foot in this.
Nah,
exactly, but you can definitely see his vision in there, and it shows like how much fun you can have with like Stephen King's work. Just seeing all the car scenes, like eventually to the point where like, and that's the one thing I really love about Stephen King's work is how much he somehow manages to human like personify things. Like you see these roving packs of trucks just driving around the fucking gas station like a pack of dogs, and I'm just like, only Stephen King would have a vision like this.
Yeah.
And then to find
And
out that the Green Goblin's not in it. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
solely for the movie.
Okay,
That was
so when you mentioned the Green Goblin thing, I went to a convention several years back, and there's this one dude who buys like a fuck ton of props. He'll like bring them to shows and actually sell some of them. He bought the original, like the actual Green Goblin,
Oh,
Nice.
and he rebuilt it. He rebuilt it,
oh my god,
and I actually got to see it.
that's epic.
Nah.
That's glad when you can
Mhm.
keep a prop like that, and it's rare for shit of the '80s to even survive today.
Oh yeah, it was destroyed. It was like after it got blown up in the movie.
Yeah, I was about to say because that thing got destroyed in the movie,
Yeah,
but that's
Yeah,
also
he
like
had to rebuild. So I'm like, damn.
it has a nice sense of humor to it as well that I really enjoy. Like I think one of the little bits that really gets me is like it's towards the end after they escape and they're at that fast food joint, and the kid's just getting annoyed with the fucking drive-through window talking to him, and he just blasts that son of a bitch.
And then
yeah. I think probably outside this movie, probably one of the best soundtracks ever made for the '80s. AC/DC.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. That explains so much for me, actually.
Yeah.
definitely addictive.
Like I remember, it was like one of the first Stephen King movies I watched, and I already liked AC/DC, but I'm pretty sure because of this movie, it just subliminally told me to listen to them more. I'm like, that explains so much now.
This film is Stephen King's personality of the '80s. It is hard rock and cocaine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There was one that I would have added, but it wasn't 80s and it hurts.
Oof.
Which is?
Sleepwalkers.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I
Cop
love the anime, but it wasn't 80s.
Kebab. We definitely got to probably do another one of these panels and just do Stephen King's
Yes,
like
we
most
do.
cringiest adaptations ever. Because like Tommyknocker's got to be up there with probably one of the worst adaptations.
Yes, Tommyknockers.
I haven't seen it.
And that had a really
Oh,
great cast.
I
I haven't seen Tommyknocker since I was a kid. That showed
yeah,
you.
I remember when I was growing up, my uncle, he was real big into like those kinds of movies. And I remember one time he was like, he said something, mentioned Tommyknockers, and I just thought to myself, what the fuck did you just call me? Like, what the hell? Like, and then I watched it, I was like, oh, now
Yeah.
I feel insulted.
Yeah. So, what's our final verdict on I was about to say Tommyknockers. Nope, that's not the right one. On Maximum Overdrive.
Cheesy.
Easy.
Cheesy.
Cheesy, but like so good.
It's a
Okay.
freaking
good.
It's
It's a
a high
good
grade.
wheel.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
It's like a nice brie.
so this next one we definitely have to keep it short because we know we can talk about this all day. But we're breaking in 1987 with Evil Dead 2.
So yes, I chose Evil Dead 2. I love this movie so much. It is my favorite of the Evil Dead movies. And I'll keep it brief. It's just kind of like I looked at it through the lens of, of course it's meant to be cheesy. The effects are still pretty good, but it does go into that cheese. And I just keep, every time I think about Evil Dead 2, I think of the scene where he's like smashing all the plates on himself and all that. And then I've looked into it behind the scenes, and he actually had those breakaway things and was doing it over and over.
Yeah.
And it's Bruce Campbell, so naturally it's gonna have an air of cheese about it.
No, for me is that it was like a deer mount or something like that.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
was that in the first? And it's just like,
Mhm.
like that's what I think of every time someone mentions Evil Dead 2. It's like
The
one of my
sound
favorite
design on that mount, let alone like all the other stuff went where
Deadite.
you hear like the cracking, and then it's like
Yes.
and it's
So
like
iconic.
yeah,
I love it.
it's an iconic scene. So we can't stay on it too long because we still have 1988 to cover, and that's a lot. So cheese or trash? Evil Dead 2.
Jeez.
Cheese.
Warbler.
I
have you
honestly, funny,
Yeah,
it's actually
I
not one
would
of my
say
favorite
definitely
Evil Dead
cheese,
movies.
Okay. This one I do not know. Who did Blood Rage?
Me.
Okay.
I'm pulling out all the weird, obscure stuff.
This one is very obscure.
Oh my god. It's super cheesy and
But-
trashy.
It is. Oh no. So I'll keep it brief. Just one of the weirdest fucking plots with these twins. Like, or a twin gets locked away because one of them framed the other one for murder as a kid, and now he's getting out for revenge, to confront him. And the whole time, like, the one thing I will say about this movie is it has some really fun kills and really great special effects. Actually, I think it was the guy who did special effects on this. He also did the special effects for Sleepaway Camp. So you're getting that, and this is like a few years later, so he's able to refine a lot more of that, and you can definitely see a lot of really great work. There's a scene where you get someone opens up a door and there's a decapitated head like greeting them once opening the door, and that scene is like legitimately like terrifying because the head is just so well made. But I can't not talk about this movie.
I
And
want
not
to
bring
say I
up
think
the-
then maybe I've seen this. Does this one have
Yeah.
that one scene where it's like the mother that's living with them? I think it's like the guy that like apparently I think wants to be with them, and like he legit just like in his office gets beheaded. Or I think he gets an axe in the back of his
Yeah, that
head.
one.
And then, yeah.
Okay, I saw Joe Bob do
It was
this.
the mom's boyfriend,
It
right?
was
Yeah.
this has got to been like one of the biggest twists of what the fuck. I could not remember
Yeah,
the
the
movie title,
whole
but I
thing.
remember seeing Joe Bob play it, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is terrible." But yeah, I can get down with
It's terrible in
this.
the best ways. Like the
Yes.
line delivery, especially the running one-liner that the killer keeps doing of "That's not cranberry sauce."
Yeah,
Every
because
time
it takes place on
he delivers it.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
It's not cranberry sauce.
like because what wasn't it? Wasn't
It was a
it
Thanksgiving.
like
It
a
was like set around Thanksgiving.
yeah? But I also wanted to sit there and say I could have sworn that was like a childhood like trigger or like a it was something that happened in his childhood when it came to the first kill. I want to believe.
I don't think so because the first kill took place in a drive-in movie theater.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, fun fact, actually, another connecting to another movie that to the movie we just talked about. Ted Raimi is actually in this movie for a brief second.
He was.
As a sleazy condom salesman at the drive-thru at the beginning.
I feel like that really wraps up Ted's
earliest,
career.
That's like his earliest role, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is.
I love Ted. So,
Trashy.
Trashy? No
Trashy.
cheese? No cheese? No queso?
Has a lot of lines, but
It's trashy. Yeah.
mostly trashy.
Okay. So, that was 1987. We only had Evil Dead and Blood Rage 2. So now we're definitely kicking down the door. We are in the decade that you guys love with a passion. So we're going to open it up first. Let's keep this one brief because I did talk about this earlier in the week for the Kyoto Brothers night on Wednesday. But Killer Clowns from Outer Space, who was that?
Easy.
That was me.
All right, so we got Cody back taking. Give us the gist. What is Killer Clowns from Outer Space?
Like it says, Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Oh my god.
Anything
It's not something you have to really think about.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like any kind of guy you could think of that involves clowns, they do it for kills.
Yeah.
In my opinion, this is the ultimate cheesiest 80 movie.
Oh yeah.
In my opinion.
And it was the first Kyoto Brothers movie? Was that the first one that they did? I think direct. It was all their production that they were doing. Was that the first one?
I don't know.
So,
But I love the movie.
Yeah.
It does drag in some parts, but it's so stupidly fun.
Mm-hmm. Especially the ice cream men whenever they get the big girls in the back. It was like, hey, what do you take us for? Do you think we're easy? And I was like, well, listen, lady. It's like you have two dorky-ass ice cream guys that got you in the back of their fucking ice cream machine. And you're over there sucking down their ice cream. I think you're pretty fucking easy.
I love the part where they're like, yeah, keep your shirt on. Don't worry, we intend to.
No, years ago, I was working with this actor, and it's a clown horror movie and whatever, and he was the evil clown. As I was like putting his makeup on him and everything, he was like listening to the soundtrack over and over and over again while meditating, just to get into character. Every time like I watch this movie, it just reminds me of him. I miss him so much. He's great.
I have to now go message him because I have him on Facebook, and me and him have talked and everything. Yeah, Jose, I can't remember his last name for the life of me.
He just goes by Sin. That's
Sin. There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, last time I saw him, it was when I went to San Antonio last year on the day of the Rammstein concert. I just wanted to see him before I went in because it's just been forever since I've seen him.
I'm so jealous.
I also cannot wait for the game.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Oh, it took me a while. I was like, who the fuck? I was like, don't tell me we lost the game now. It's like I'm
I cannot wait for the game.
Yeah, the game is gonna be fun too. I think it's like 8v4.
I'm going to main shorty.
I hope they do it in a way that gives it legs, because a lot of these games that have been based on like horror movies, they typically have about a 3 to 6 month time frame, and then they just die off.
Yeah,
they all fall under Dead by Daylight shadow, and then they just disappear.
Yeah.
Well,
it's kind of hard though to.
I'm gonna moderate here. Let's not go down a Dead by Daylight rabbit hole. We still got some time.
But also too, it is kind of hard though because Dead by Daylight has had its legs for a lot longer, and it's such a simple game that you can pretty much just play over and over and over again. But you can get different end results. But when you kind of look at something like even TCM, I love watching it, but TCM, I feel as a survivor, I would be so equally frustrated to say, fuck this game, I'm going to go play Fortnite and go scream at kids. And the Friday the 13th game, that was fun, but it was filled with trolls and everything, and it definitely made it unfun. So, like, there is a chemistry that Dead by Daylight does that apparently none of these other games have cracked it, and I really do hope Killer Clowns does it.
I think I'm going to boil it down to, I think it's the amount of choice you have in terms of killers with Dead like that allows it to have more longevity versus something like, Evil Dead or something. Once you've put the core, like, villains and all that into the game, there's really not too much else you can add in there to kind of keep it fresh. So it kind of just ends up falling apart because it's like, I've already mastered these characters. I don't know what else to do with this game.
Yeah, and even for TCM, they had to make, 2 new characters? Just for it. I think they had to make 2 new ones, and I think TCM can have some longevity because you have the sequels and the remakes. So, like...
They have to add content from the movies.
Yeah.
They have to.
You gotta have Matthew McConaughey with the little emote where he has the shotgun in his mouth. Yeah, and then he's acting like the sand people from Star Wars, it's like, yeah, you have to have that.
So I don't know when that will happen. I'm sure they're probably working on it or trying in the works. They're just keeping hush-hush about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Gothic and I talked about it when he had the Kyoto talk the other day about the game because we were looking into it, and it's like we surmised we think it's probably sometime next year.
Yeah,
I would think. I don't think it's
also
dropping
too,
this year.
You need TCM2 characters. I want to have dual wielding chainsaw fights with what's his name? Forget the actor, but he played the sheriff and he had like 2 little small chainsaws, 2 battle Leatherface's big long one, and they have like this Jedi fight and everything. And
that's gonna happen.
I would love it. It would be like it would be the one character most survivors would fight over. They're like, no, I want to have an opportunity to smack people with chainsaws. But moving forward, all right, Killer Clowns, cheese or trash?
Cheese.
Cheese. All right, so we actually have a sequel on this list from the first one that we talked about from 1983. We come back 5 years later with Sleepaway Camp 2. I feel this is Tommy again.
Oh, it's me.
Oh shit! Oh god! Okay.
No, Tommy's done. Tommy says he's done.
Oh, okay. Well,
This is the only movie on my list where it's trashy and cheesy. So, you got Angela back, who is somehow a counselor at this camp, who basically just punishes any kid who's misbehaved in any kind of way. And she's just like, I had to send them home.
Really?
Pretty much it.
That was it?
Yeah.
She doesn't kill him?
That's pretty much the whole thing where she's a camp counselor and, yeah, she punishes bad kids.
By sending them home. But does she kill them?
Oh, yeah, she kills them, but she tells her father
I was going to say, that's going to be the most depressing sequel ever. She went around as a kid and everything and kills them. She and then comes back as a counselor and is all like, I'm sending you back home with your mother. I was like, I think that's far more punishment than me killing the rest of the people.
Like some of the kills, oh my god. There's one where she stuffs who is essentially the bitch in the group. She really shoves her in a nasty outhouse.
Oh yeah.
Like, are we talking like she just locked her in there and then tipped it over, or?
No, she pushed her in there, takes a stick, and just shoves her in there.
Oh my god!
Death by outhouse. That's to me. That's probably
she'll pop out.
It's a shitty way to die. That's for sure.
Yeah, she just sticks her down there anymore. You just hear the.
Oh,
yeah,
that's a sound I don't want to ever hear. So cheesy and trashy.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of nudity in it.
Yeah,
it just random flashes and shit. There's a couple 2 younger kids. They were already taking photos.
Interesting. I think this
it's on Tubi.
I think this is a sequel on Tubi. I will skip. I'll go back and
it's a fun watch.
I'll go back and rewatch the Subspecies series and criticize that.
She has a lot of one-liners.
Okay, so we heard from
character
Tommy.
Is totally different from the first Sleepaway Camp. It's so complete 180.
Oh, I hate that. So Tommy
it's kind of like in the
cheesy.
vein of TCM2.
Oh, but I really enjoy TCM2.
I don't. I fucking hate it.
And this is why he's the angry old man that shakes his fist in the sky.
Yep.
So
Yeah, it's more
Cheesy-
horror comedy than
cheesy or
anything.
trashy, Cody?
It's both.
It's both.
It is both.
All right,
yeah.
so I know I'm going to get this number wrong, but our next entry is a sequel, but not a direct sequel from the first. Nightmare on Elm Street: The Dream Master. This is 4, right?
No, Dream
Yeah, it's
Child.
part 4.
Dream Child, that's 5.
It's
Was it
5.
Right?
Well, this one's The Dream Master.
Right.
Who
No,
picked,
on
who
the
picked
list
that
it said
one?
Dream Child.
Who picked
I'm
Yeah,
that
looking
one?
at both right now.
That's mine.
That's
It's
yours?
the Dream Master is the name of it.
Oh, okay. So why
Why
is
is
it
it-
cheesy or trashy?
It's more cheesy because a lot of the kills are kind of cheesy.
What was this
Like-
when it felt like the fire was kind of burning out of this series at this point?
It really starts in part 5 for most, but
Mhm.
this is one I just don't watch a whole lot. I don't know why. It's just not one of my favorite nightmare movies.
Okay.
But I mean, like, and when you in documentary when they're talking about every single movie, you're like, how are we gonna bring Freddy back? A dog pisses fire.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Like,
god.
really, it pisses fire and it opens up Freddy's grave and he comes back.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Think about it. That the first Nightmare on Elm Street came out in '84, and you're talking 4 years later. You're already to this point where you're 3 in, and you're trying to come up with something. You already got the sequel. I mean,
It's like
you're just
literal
shoving it down your
burnout.
throat just because
Mhm.
Freddy's such a fucking icon with the knives. That's all you have to do is put it on the poster, and you're gonna get people.
Yeah.
And I felt like they got to this point very quickly.
Like
Instead of-
it's probably one of the few franchises that probably fizzled out a lot quicker than the others. Because Jason
Oh, yeah.
had what, like 2 more in the 90s before he burned out? Before they did 10? Because 10
I
was
think part 8 was still in
2000.
the 80s.
Well, the one that wasn't Jason, I felt like that was a burnout and a cop out. I can't
Yeah.
I
remember
like
which
part
one that was.
5.
That one's like, you didn't hear the noise. At the end, you're like, I didn't hear the fucking noise. Shit. The Jason.
Yeah.
But I think the most cheesiest kill in part 4 is the chick with asthma.
Yeah.
He
Mhm.
literally sucks the air out of her.
Oh
Want a
god.
suck
Yeah.
face? Or no, that was the first one, right?
Yeah, that's what he says. He wants to suck face.
Yeah, I want to suck face. And
It's
then
the
like,
fact that there's no bones or nothing. Like, so she just gets flat as shit.
yeah.
I think on this one though for Freddy, I think they just sort of figured out, okay, well, what else can we do?
Was this one also the Roach,
It's dreams.
the Roach Hotel
Yep.
one? Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
I remember
That's the
seeing
most
this as a
creative kill in the
child,
movie.
and it traumatized the fuck out of me. And I started seeing those things around the house, and I would quickly walk away. It's like, I don't want Freddy putting me in one of these. fuck this shit. Get the other roaches. Don't get me. It's like,
The one that's really lazy though is the fucking martial art dude.
Yeah.
You gotta pretend getting hit by an invisible Freddy.
yeah.
Right.
I still think probably one of the most creative kills, and I know it. I think it's in the third one. It's the one where he lifts up the girl, and he's like, it's your big break, Jennifer, in primetime
That's part
TV. Yeah, and
Yeah.
he's all like, cut the
I
primetime
gotta go
bitch.
with
Favorite
Hard,
kill in
yeah.
that movie.
That's
I
like the
gotta go
best
with
kill
Steve
ever,
Austin.
and it's not all
Yeah.
that creative because it's just his head poking out of the thing with little antennas. And
It's
everything.
it's the one-liner that does it. Welcome
Yeah.
to prime time, bitch.
It's the actual
Yeah.
gunshot and the whole kill and everything, and so yeah. Why outside of why, super cheesy, super trashy? Are we leaning
I
more
won't say it's
cheese?
super cheesy, but it is cheesy.
Okay.
Cheesy.
So, all right, cheesy. So moving to another strange one in the list, They Live.
Yeah, this one's mine.
Okay. Why cheesy
It's
or
so
trashy?
relevant today.
It's just cheesy.
Okay.
It's very it reminds me of a lot of the people that now that are like, oh, all the politicians and elites are lizard people, and like they're taking over all this stuff.
I'm
It's like,
here to kick ass and chew bubblegum.
yeah, and that's
bubblegum.
it's amazing. It's a cheesy line, but it's delivered so well that it's like I don't really fault it, but it's just it is a very 80s movie.
Mm-hmm.
You got to
like-
think Roddy Piper. Like you had to have a
Yeah.
pro wrestler to play someone like that.
Carpenter flick.
Yeah, but it was just one of those. It's an entertaining watch. I enjoy it, but and that's kind of the key for a lot of these is I find them cheesy, but I do enjoy them as well. It's not one of those. It's so bad I won't watch it again.
Yeah.
But
The worst
yeah, it's
part,
just
the worst thing in that whole entire movie is Meg Foster.
I like Meg
agreed.
Foster, but yeah,
Okay, but in that movie, she's
that's not her strongest, because she's more or less she's just there just to like lay with
like there's
me
an
so I can
explosion that
betray
happens
you
right
later.
behind her. Just so like, oh, that happened.
Yeah,
She's like so unresponsive, like,
yeah, it gives me kind of like shades of like Body Snatcher,
Oh,
where
yeah.
it's very unresponsive. It's very mute. It's a very mute performance. For me, I live for the scene where they actually do the alleyway fight scene that took the longest, and it was like the most accurate fucking ass kicking. And it's so funny hearing it from a pro wrestler that is so used to taking it in from like actually really getting punched by other wrestlers and everything. And he just tells Keith David, "Come on, lay it in, just lay it in a little bit." And he hit him with that punch, and Keith's like, "I am so sorry." He's like, "Did that look good?" And John's like, "That looks good." He's like, "Fuck yeah!" And you would only
the
get
fact
that.
that South Park recreated that fight.
Did they?
Yeah,
Wait,
just
which?
type in South Jimmy and Timmy.
Oh my god! All right, I gotta
Like,
rewatch
just
that
type
one.
in Just type in South Park handicap fight. Boom, it's gonna pop up.
Oh my god!
It's
Okay.
really scene by scene. Like they recreate that whole entire fight, even by line. Like, you dirty motherfucker.
Okie dokie. So
I think a line in that movie though was, "This one, you're okay. This one, real fucking ugly."
yeah.
That's my
So
favorite line in the movie.
so this obviously we labeled They Live as cheesy.
Oh hell yeah, but damn.
So moving on, I definitely know who these next two entries are, so I'll let her take it away. We are first going to cover, and this is actually a trigger warning for a film. If you guys actually go see this, definitely trigger warning. I mentioned at the beginning, right before the recording, for the audience of, oh hey, like the way how this stuff is handled, it's not really the best way, but it is the 80s, and a lot of stuff was mishandled. But Paulette, tell us about Curse of the Queer Wolf.
Oh, here we fucking go.
She's dreading it, even though she picked it.
Oh, yeah, I know, because the movie is just so absurd. I need to talk about it with people. So I found this movie on accident on Tubi. I was spending the night at a friend's house because I had to. She lives close to the city. I had an early shift the next morning, so she let me spend the night. Me and her roommate, we were just chilling. We were smoking, not gonna lie. Going through Tubi, and we found this movie.
You have to be smoking to fucking watch this movie, because when I heard a little bit about what fucking happened, I'm like, okay.
Yeah. So we came across this movie, Curse of the Queer Wolf. We were put off by it. We decided to watch it. Holy shit. So basically, it just takes the werewolf concept, and so instead of turning into, getting bitten by a werewolf and you turn into one, it's basically a trans woman turning a cis male into another trans woman. That's basically what the movie's about. I mean, it's like stupidly cheesy and stupidly trashy. It's like I can't pick one or the other, because yeah, it is
It's
the product.
straight to video
Like,
movie.
Are we
theaters.
definitely talking? It is so super trashy. You would not find it in a $5 bin, not even in Walmart.
No, I would find it at a thrift store by chance.
Yeah.
I mean, it's on Tubi. I feel like that says.
Or
no.
someone
those
happened
random-
to.
Hey, there's some
Get it
good
from
movies that are on
someplace.
Tubi though. Like, okay, like the remake of Hellboy. That was a good movie, right?
No, but anyway.
Wow, you can
like,
say that with a straight face.
Cody just
Yeah.
died from hearing that.
But yeah, it's a
I haven't
very.
seen it, so I can't say nothing.
It's like a very low quality movie. Yeah, they have said they have they said in this movie like a bunch of like homophobic and transphobic type of stuff going on. that's why now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, shit, was a really good idea, but I have to talk about it because it's just so fucking
It's better to really
ridiculous.
bring the awareness of where the 80s were at when talking about this
Yeah,
stuff.
it's
So-
like when you watch this movie, this is basically how, in quote unquote normal society saw the queer community at the time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Especially with the AIDS epidemic going on.
Because that was booming pretty big.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just like I'm just like at a loss for words. Tommy watched it earlier today just so he
you
knows what
poor
the fuck I'm
soul.
talking about.
Do I have thoughts?
Oh my god.
He has strong feelings. Yeah, and then there's like this whole bit throughout the movie where the main guy just keeps accidentally killing his girlfriend's dogs. Like she gets like a new one every time the last one would die. Like the last one got killed in the microwave. On accident. Like this
How does one accidentally
Okay.
microwave a hot dog?
Wow.
No, it's just like the puppy just climbed into the microwave. He didn't see it going. He was having an argument with his girlfriend, just closed the microwave to heat up his food, and then just it exploded. They didn't show the puppy
God,
exploding.
I kind of feel like Tucker and Dale kind of took that idea a lot better than
Right.
what the hell these guys did. Nothing beats
Right?
seeing a dumb teenager
No,
leap headfirst into a wood chipper compared to a dog that's like, oh, what's in here? And
I don't know why I'm thinking about that one scene in Boondock Saints with the cat.
yeah,
What the part
I was
about
thinking
it
that too. When he
was the
slams his
movie?
fist and it shots the cat. What the fuck? Holy shit! We
Dude,
shot.
it just fucking happened.
And then when the woman's like, "Where the fuck's my cat?" I shot
what?
it, you bitch!
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my god.
Where's my
I
my
will-
cat?
Yeah, but anyway, like even though like the dialogue can be very offensive, they're just like so matter of fact about like they knew what they were doing. Like they weren't taking themselves way too seriously. This isn't a movie to take that seriously, to be honest. But I know there's like stuff in there that would definitely offend people now.
Yeah.
Pretty
Do you
much.
feel like they're being malicious about it or just dumb?
Like they're not
I mean-
being malicious about it. It's just like because
It's
I don't
that
know.
era.
I don't,
That
yeah,
time.
it's,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I grew up in the 80s. Everybody's, but then I also remember I have parents that were from other areas, and I worked with a guy that he called white people ma'am or sir, nothing else. Now that guy's passed away. He was 90 something. He was the same age as my grandfather, but that's how he was raised. That's what he said. He didn't use any other words because that's how he was taught
Yeah.
when he was a kid.
Yeah.
And that's at that era. That's how it was.
Yeah.
And that's this era in the 80s. I think it was really a free for all. I mean, mass media,
Yeah.
everything. They were even trying to come up with the whole rating system that you guys deal with now. I mean, they were really figuring out. And then you have an NC-17. What the fuck's that? MA and
I don't
all
think
that type of
that
stuff.
didn't come out until what, the 80s? NC-17, I believe.
Was that like
It was like-
Showgirls or what?
It was
what's the
late-
one that, like, first
late
did it?
80s, early 90s.
I was about to
Yeah.
say Showgirls definitely got an X. I definitely do
Yeah.
remember that's
It
what
got an
killed that
NC-17 rating.
90s
Yeah.
though.
Showgirls was the 90s, I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Show,
it was the 90s.
Showgirls was like the late
But
90s.
that's
though,
where
but-
we got to that point of horror movies having a ton of sex, a ton of everything else, and we pushed that boundaries to where, okay, do you want to get that banned? Do you want to get that NC-17 banned?
Because they mostly look at it. Well, it's a studio film. We can't sell anything. Even selling it as an art. Even back then in the 90s, selling it as an art, that was a fucking huge ass risk if the studio was ever going to make it back. That's why most of it's always been PG-13. PG-13 is the safest area that they can go to.
And in the 80s, I felt like
Oh,
R was,
what,
hey,
Mom?
boobs and nudity and violence is where you're at for the horror genre.
yeah, but
of course,
you
right?
could get some of the nudity and the violence though in a fucking like
Back then, yes.
PG-13, because I mean, like, come on, like Last Unicorn had a little bit of nudity in it. It had a bunch of sexual themes and all that. And this was made for kids, and it's like Rankin Bass ain't get no fucks. It's like you see Lady Amalia naked for one little bit. You get to sit there and see a wizard try to turn a tree alive to free him, but that wizard has the biggest tits ever, and it's all like, "You will never leave me," and it's like forced motorboating. Poor Alan Arkin, and he's like, "Oh my god!" And it's all like, and then when the unicorn
Wait,
shows up,
Last Unicorn?
Yeah,
it's-
this is on.
Timmy's
You
favorite.
can watch it on Tubi. It's
I own it.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
You
but
know,
anyway,
crazy.
with this movie, they did take some liberties from the original Wolfman. They played off with the, the pentagram on the hand. Instead, it's it's like a type of flower. It's like they called it a pansygram.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and of course you would have um your stereotypical gypsy fortune teller tell you all about it, which funny enough he accidentally hits her with his car when he was like kind of starting to feel the symptoms of like the curse or whatever,
Oh my
and
god.
it's so ridiculous. And then like when the fortune teller was like explaining to him how to like reverse the curse. Basically, she's saying there's just like no way to do it other than like take this silver vibrator and shove it up your ass. That will kill you peacefully. I'm like, what?
Dear God.
Sorry, this movie's too ridiculous.
For the community in the future, we do not have you
Endorse.
we do not endorse silver vibrators going up your ass.
I mean,
Unless you're into it.
Unless you're
yuck
into
any- I
it,
don't yuck
but
anybody's yum,
I
but-
mean, I think the way how this happens in the movie, do not do like what they did in this movie. I have a feeling
that never happened. Basically, towards the end, he was getting an exorcism, and they also parodied the infamous, exorcism scene from The Exorcist, and so it ended up the curse went into the priest that performed the exorcism, and now he's the queer wolf, and the
Oh
main
my
character's all scared. Yeah.
it's like
so
it's not only that we're gonna
bad.
just attack people, the LGBT community, but you know what? We're gonna attack the church and hope that we get a sequel. Oh my god!
It was Club Road the Last Unicorn.
Awesome!
Nice.
I love that Red Bull.
But
Yep.
So
But yeah.
super cheesy, super trashy.
it's
Well, I
super
never seen it, but from what I heard, oh my.
Horribly trashy.
horribly trashy.
Horribly
It's
trashy.
also,
This is
softcore porn in there
So
too.
we need a palate cleanser here. We need to really up the spirits. We're closing the great year of 1988 out, but again, Paulette leading us into, the person that I think almost every person wants to be.
I will be right back. I got something to show.
Oh shit. She ain't got a wig or anything, does she?
No, I know exactly what she's getting.
Okay.
She's gonna bring Elvira in. We have a special guest.
I mean,
So
if
the artist,
this
the artist that made that
motherfucker's been
Red Bull-
harboring Cassandra Peterson. There we go. We're covering Elvira,
Love it.
Mistress of the Dark, which, oh my god, watching this movie just fills my heart with horniness and horror. So,
Mhm. I love her.
I will not shy away. This movie definitely was like, I love goth women. I love goth women.
Mhm.
And everything.
It was the
It's like
awakening.
everyone's awakening when the movie came out, or when they first started watching her show.
Believe it or not, before I saw this movie, I did see one of the cable access like overnight. Like I woke up in the middle of the night, and for some reason Elvira was playing on, which is weird because we don't usually get channels like that. That's usually the West Coast people that get that. But I was able to watch it, and I was like, oh shit! I was like, wait, it's like this isn't porn, is it? I was all like, when the hell did they start playing it on this? And then whenever I started figuring out, oh, she's a horror hostess, I love this. And then I found out she had her own movie. So, Paulette, take it away with Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
All right, Elvira, as everyone in the horror community knows, she was a movie hostess, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then she ventured off into doing her own thing, with modeling and also movies. I think this one's like her first one out of a couple
Mhm.
that she did,
Yeah,
playing as herself. And I think it was like
because Haunted Hills was the sequel almost about a decade later.
maybe, yeah, because I think I'm only seeing like one other movie, but I need to find more. So pretty much the story goes, something happened with her show, and then she inherited this old house in this tiny town that her aunt left her. I think it was her. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
her aunt. And basically, she's just being, she's the black sheep, but she's not shy about it. She's just like doing her own thing, and it's like everyone else in the town is just giving her shit for being herself, and then trying to protect the children. I'm just like, they're teenagers. They lack
it's time.
boobies.
I mean, I don't know any teenager that doesn't like boobies.
Exactly.
Boobies are life. Boobies give
Yeah.
you life. Technically.
It's just like,
Me, technically.
Elvira. I'm expecting a lot of campiness with it. She did her own little show at this old movie theater, and all the teenagers went because, you know, just to expand their horizons and stuff. And it's just like, this movie's an awakening for me. I need to be confident like her. But I put it on the list because like it is really cheesy. It's just because of all the campiness they put into it that fits her personality.
Yeah. It's like a goth version of like watching an old kaiju film, like the earlier Godzilla stuff. We know it's campy. The human story is bullshit, but you laugh at it. And when you see the men in the giant silicone suits just smack each other, you know, you laugh at it, but you're into it. And I feel like that's kind of when you start going more in the horror realm. Elvira is the queen of camp. Not just it's just a dark. She is the queen of camp.
I saw a meme where it said like, there should be a movie where it's Elvira and Dolly Parton.
Yes.
Yeah, they're really estranged sisters.
Yeah. Well, I mean, technically, yeah, Dolly Parton is the goth version of Elvira is the goth version of Dolly Parton. And the in between of that is
Jennifer Tilly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we do get a
she needs to be involved in this project too.
There is the two sisters, and then it's like, yeah, there's that one distant cousin that just comes in, and it's like, hi folks, like I just got in from my 6th divorce. It's like, you know, like, I mean, there's so much to pick at this. The whole town, like actually
666th divorce.
Yeah, and like, you know, it's like the town like coming out with pitchforks and fire that like, you know, try to burn Elvira. For one, I love the little lady that leads it, the community leader, because I first saw her in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and it's that iconic film that gave that movie the R rating because Steve Martin like said fuck to her almost like 20 times in one fucking scene, and it's just her be like, well, sir, you're fucked. And seeing that cute, adorable woman, and then see her do Elvira, which she's a harlot, and it's all like, wow, you're really upgrading here. You took like 14 fucks from Steve Martin, and now you're dealing with Elvira. Oh my god.
She boxes above her weight class. That's all I can say.
So, like, what else can we say about this wonderful film without giving too much of a spoiler? Because obviously people got to go on Tubi. I do believe it's on Tubi with its sequel.
Yeah, because I haven't seen it.
You haven't?
No.
It's disappointing, Cody-san.
I mean, I think it's a really good, like, fish out of water type story.
Sorry.
You know, like, you know, it's just the how diametrically opposed she is to the rest of the town, who are very, like, you know, set in their ways.
Right.
And here she comes stirring up, like, you know, trying to introduce new aspects to it. And I think it's just entertaining. It's definitely more of a, hey, pay attention to the IP and not so much the plot.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah.
But I don't think it was very hard to get people to do that.
I mean, it's Elvira.
Yeah.
And what's really sad is I've seen the pilot for the TV show that was supposed to be the actual direct sequel to this movie, but then like I think it got changed midway, and so it took some of the elements where Elvira actually does live with her aunt. I forgot who is it that it was, but they kind of do like the kooky sitcom, like what, you know, like back then, like your Leave It to Beaver kind of thing, but they interject Elvira, and it's all like, for the years that she has had as a horror hostess on the TV shows, Elvira, Mistress of the Macabre, etc., all those different little shows, are you literally telling me that you guys could not write a single great series based off of this pilot? The pilot, to me, it's like, it's a good start. It's not super strong, but you know what? It is something to like, you know what? I would love to see another episode to see how this forms.
Just
Netflix,
take a sitcom,
you got one fucking job.
Yeah, just take a sitcom, interject some, like, Addams Family-esque, like, stuff into it and just merge it together.
Yeah.
It's a very simple thing. I feel like somebody who has no knowledge of how to put a show together could find a way to make that work.
But
Oh,
also, they kind of essentially did that with the Rob Zombie Monsters. I felt like that should have been a pilot to a TV show. And Cassandra Peterson, has a cameo role as the real estate agent, I believe, that sells the iconic house to the Munsters. Like I felt like they could have. To be honest, I would not be upset if Rob Zombie directed. Keep his wife out of it. Rob Zombie directed
That ain't gonna happen.
a
No, he would
a
make her
Elvira
Elvira.
TV show. I mean, you could easily have it where Elvira's the hero and like maybe Rob Zombie's wife's the villain because people just love to hate her. I actually thought she did a wonderful Lily Munster. I think she did a fantastic job. But to do a TV show of Elvira, I definitely feel like that's up Rob Zombie's alleyway.
It's not that I hate Sherry Moon. It's just she can't carry a movie.
Yeah. But I kind of felt like with the Munsters movie, that wasn't supposed to be a carry. That was supposed to be an ensemble. And I think she did well, kind of like with The Devil's Rejects. She wasn't the main character. But she was an ensemble character.
A great secondary character. I think she fits that very well, but it's like I feel like she lacks a little bit of, I want to say, charm to be like a leading, actor.
Even though I fucking hate this movie to no end, she does fine in Rob Zombie's Halloween.
Oh yeah.
I don't know about the sequel one, but yeah, the first one, yeah.
She plays a fucking ghost.
You see the anger in his eyes. He's channeling Michael as we speak.
Really, his
I get it
2,
now. I get
his
this
Halloween
motivation.
2 is a Halloween-themed Friday the 13th movie.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's Ghost Mommy telling him what to do.
So, we're closing out 88. We know it's cheesy. It's fun. We love Elvira. So, Intruder, 1989. So, when you told me this, the only one I could think of is a Clive Owen movie from, like, the late 2000s. What is Intruder?
Intruder is it's a supermarket that basically is they're closing the supermarket. If you watch like the first 10 minutes of it, it's a boyfriend that comes in, yells at the girlfriend, causes a big scene, and is deranged. He just got out of prison. You pretty much think, okay, hey, and then all of a sudden people start dying. And these are people that are closing this supermarket and trying to get prepared for the following day. And these people start dying. And you're like, okay, this guy got in. They've already called the police. They talked to the police. Police are like, okay, we'll walk around and stuff like that. And then it's just it's a little bit, this is where I feel like, at least my aspect as a kid, this terrified me of being left in a store by myself with the lights out, this type of thing. Because these people are dying, like, and you don't know where it's at. And then, as an adult, I rewatched it, and I'm like, this is right where the psychology part, like the psychological part and the twists and turns really, I felt like kicked in super hard. Because they portrayed it, one of the last people to die is the boyfriend that you thought was dead from the very beginning, was the killer from the very beginning. And it was the 49% owner that was killing all these people so he could keep the store from the owner that's a majority share for 51%. And the guy's like a fucking psychopath. But you didn't know that until like the last 10 minutes of the movie is whenever it portrayed it and it showed it of who the real killer was throughout the entire movie. This guy that went to jail, killed somebody in a fight, went to jail, smacked his girlfriend in the store, got thrown out by a bunch of people, and all of a sudden people start dying, and you immediately think this.
Yeah.
And as a kid, and I remember this because it was much later, I mean, I was always like, hey, store closing time. I'm like, let's get the hell out. Let's go, Mom. Store closing. We got to go. Because stores used to close at, 9, 8, 9, 10 o'clock. They weren't open all the time. Yeah. Right. And this was one of those that really threw me. And then also the aspect of who is the real killer. From probably this movie that I can remember so well, this is when I started saying, is this the real killer? Who is the real killer? I feel like this is where Scream You know, the very first Scream movie where you
Yeah.
thought you knew who the killer was. This movie was like the start of who is the real killer. This portrayed the killer the entire time, and now we're doing a switcheroo, and it wasn't this.
Yeah. Well, like, yeah,
And
like,
it was cheesy though. It was so cheesy.
yeah.
I mean, it's a cheesy movie.
But like where Scream
And they-
kind of got you, it's like, yeah, it's usually always the boyfriend, and then it switches around. It's like, yeah, it is the boyfriend, but it's also someone else that you didn't even, you know. So I do
Right.
like those twists. I definitely got to check this out then. This definitely.
And
sounds
they
like
were roommates.
Yeah,
We made.
yeah. And this was like one of those
Who the
movies
fuck
that's
is
just a cheesy
Paul?
old movie. That, you know, this is just one of the ones that I remember that twists, and then I was old enough to remember and to start thinking, who's the real killer in this? Who was the real bad person in this? Who was the real? Because this one threw me for the loop. I remember sitting there watching it, and my aunt was even with me, and she's like, I knew it wasn't him, and I'm like, that's the bad guy the whole time. He smacked his girlfriend, you know, thinking that's the bad guy.
major red
but-
herring before. Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, still technically correct.
Yeah.
Bad person.
Correct.
So
Bad person, but he wasn't the killer in the movie.
Right.
I
right.
definitely
he
gotta
wasn't
check
the main
this film
killer.
out. I definitely gotta check this film. This definitely sounds like a fun one. It almost sounds
It's
like
on
for a
Tubi.
moment, it sounds like a James Gunn movie, something James would probably have done in his early career after working for
Oh, yeah.
Trauma.
And
And
if
every-
you look up the names on it, you'll be like, wow, okay, I didn't expect that.
Ooh, so cheesy, trashy. Where
Oh,
we
it
at?
was cheesy and probably trashy too. It was
Okay.
wasn't boobs everywhere, wasn't just sex and stuff like that, but it was definitely massively cheesy.
So we have our final film to wrap up because we're almost here at 2.5 hours. The Burbs.
The Birds. Yes, this is my final one. Going from the intruder thing, which is like, you know, you think you know what's going on, but then it twists and no, it's actually this person. This is kind of like if you've ever seen Disturbia.
Yeah.
Uh, it's a lot like that. You know, you've got the neighbor across the street that the main character is convinced is a serial killer. It's a family of them. You know, it very much doesn't try to hide the fact that yes, these people are really they're killers. They're shitty people. But it's just the fact that it's like even if you just like look at what the like synopsis of the movie, you're like this doesn't take any risks whatsoever. And this is because this has a pretty stacked cast. You got Tom Hanks, Carrie Fisher, Corey Feldman, like a lot of people in there, but it's just one of those it's cheesy because it very much follows the rule book of these types of movies.
Yeah.
You know, like you know they're gonna like all of the things that are gonna happen. There's never any mystery to it, so it's just one of those things where it's like it ends up being kind of, you know, a letdown because you're like I feel like I went on this journey and I got nothing out of it. So in that instance, I say cheesy because again, it just took the trope and just followed it to a T.
You also forgot the most iconic actor in that fucking film, and definitely the man that made the fucking film to begin with, Bruce motherfucking Dern.
Bruce Dern. Mm-hmm.
You know, especially having Corey Feldman. It's like, hey, what are you doing? Hey, fuck off. And it's the best neighbor ever. Bruce Dern is a fucking legend. And to have him in this film, you know, to be honest, this is Suburbia's version of King of the Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Dern is Dale Dribble. You know,
Right.
He's got the machine gun. He is the paranoid motherfucker. Somehow with the hot girlfriend. Makes no
May he
goddamn
rest in
sense.
peace.
Huh?
May he rest in peace.
May he rest in
Oh.
peace. Wait, did we lose Bruce?
Dale. No, Dale.
Oh, I was about to fucking say.
No,
God damn-
Dale from King of the Hill, bro.
Yeah, I know the actor from King of the Hill. Yeah, rest in peace to him. But I was thinking Bruce Dern. I was like, where have I been? Who else died during the Sub-A-Thon? This is like Intruders.
Being a
People are
fucking
dying
hermit.
off. All of a sudden, Cody's
Yeah.
camera's gonna turn off, and it's like, where are you, Cody?
This is gonna become unfriended.
Holy shit! It got Cody.
You bastards!
Oh my
The
god!
weird
but-
thing is that I wouldn't even think that this one at first. The poster is what drew me in. I mean, having Tom Hanks in it, of course.
I thought it was gonna be a science fiction film.
Yeah, I honestly like if you look at the poster, the main poster that they posted, it looks like it's like a comedy, sci-fi.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you
Yeah.
getting into?
The poster gave me the Cable Guy vibes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, way before. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And when I first seen it, I was like, oh, it's just Tom Hanks, so I'm gonna see it. But then I watched it, and I'm like, okay, this was a very cool movie, but it was so fucking weird. It was just one of those movies like, okay, this is a good movie to drink and just chill on, and
This was
Yeah.
one
You
of
don't-
Tom
you
Hanks'
don't
final comedies,
put it
if
on-
I believe so.
Right. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's definitely a put it on in the background while you're doing other stuff, because you don't really need to pay attention to many intricacies of it, because there's really not too many of them. You see them taking the body out, you see them doing all of these different things. They're, it very much lays it out for you.
Yeah.
This is paranoid suburbia. This is right at the
Absolutely.
time that people were moving out
Xenophobia.
of the cities to suburbia.
Yeah. But like even like with the film, like what you mentioned, like the film gives you everything to let us know, yes, this is a family of serial killers. But like when you really kind of look at the rest of the movie, it's like, well, what else there left? I was like, it's them finding the proof. These fuckers are so goddamn well kept that it's kind of hard to sit there and find, well, where's the proof that these guys are serial killers? Where is your proof? There's a body in the basement, and it's like, all right, fine, well, we'll get the search warrant, and it's like, well, where the fuck's the body?
No, need
They
more proof.
moved it, and it's so much like hearsay and everything, and I love it. It feels so human. It feels like it could happen in anyone's neighborhood, regardless suburbia or not. It feels like it can happen in anyone's neighborhood. This whole scenario, and the cast of characters of it is freaking great. Isn't John Candy, I think, in this? There's like a huge stellar cast in this movie. I'm finally able to look it up since it's the last film.
Yeah, I don't see him listed on there. I don't recall it. No.
I don't remember seeing him in there.
I remember that there is a. I could be thinking someone else. So we had Tom Hanks, Bruce Dern, Corey Feldman, Rick Ducommun. I have no fucking clue. That's a Carrie Fisher, Wendell Shaw, Courtney Gaines. I'm trying to figure out who the hell was. Dick Miller was also in this movie. We got Dick in this movie. I'm sorry, I have to make that joke. I'm trying to remember who the hell was the neighbor. But maybe it was Rick that I was thinking of. But there was like a chunky guy in there that was definitely used for the comic relief, and for some reason I kept thinking Norm was in here. But this is like an outstanding cast for the 90s or for the 80s.
And it didn't occur to me until I saw it on the page when I was looking up the actors. I was like, wait, there was a better movie that was cheesy and supposed to kind of be more of a thriller kind of thing, and it was one of Tom Hanks' first movies, which was Mazes and Monsters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Horrible.
Oh God, I want to talk about Mazes and Monsters one day.
It is. It is
so
crazy.
bad.
It was kind of during the height of that stuff where people like were trying to talk about how evil Dungeons and Dragons was and how it's gonna ruin kids and all this stuff, and it was just
like Eddie Munson.
But yeah.
Oh my God. But yeah, okay, that's so super cheesy. I don't think it's trashy by any sense.
No, it
outside
is
outside of Bruce Dern's
clean.
girlfriend. I think that woman was like a bikini in the majority of the film, or covering some form of her body that obviously there was no clothes underneath.
It was squeaky clean. There was no trash to be surmised from this.
And it's kind of weird looking at the films of what we covered here in the 80s. Like, this is only scratching the surface of what the 80s brought us horror-wise. But to switch gears to the 90s, we felt like a little lost. I kind of felt like 89 was already like a dipping year to begin with, but it felt like once we entered the 90s, my decade, we felt so lost until towards the end. Felt like we had to take an entire decade to figure ourselves out.
Yeah, and the 90s was when a lot of the subsequent sequels of stuff we got in the 80s were starting to, in my opinion, kind of decline a little bit in terms of quality, and it was just definitely a different time
for horror for horror, Full Moon definitely did dominate the video market with the Puppet Master sequels. You had
Sure did.
your Blood Species, Blood
Yeah, but
Species, your Doll
you and I
Man.
talked about this a little
Yeah, and
bit.
then we had oh sorry. You're gonna
Well, me and you talked about this a little bit. Like, I felt like the '80s was a little bit of the jump scares, the slashers, that type of thing. But then you got into like the '90s. Is like
A
I
lot
feel
of who
like
done it.
yeah,
It
who
feels
did it?
more like the
We
whole
wanted to swap it.
90s.
We wanted a psychological
Yes.
thriller
Yeah.
instead of the slasher. Instead of we still had the other, certain other ones, but I felt like it was like the slasher. Is a psychological who did it. Can you figure it out before the end?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was kind of like, and you did have some ones that shine through, like, like the Screams, I Know What You Did Last Summer, that kind of stuff.
I mean, you
So
had
there
like The
was,
Ring,
yeah,
Not the second one though.
Arachnophobia, Silence of the Lambs,
Arachnophobia
Right.
was a really good one. But also too, like
Tremors.
I kinda like to think of the '90s were what set up our modern day obsession for true crime podcasts.
What, no
That's
love for
pretty
the
much kind of
faculty?
what the '90s ended up becoming, especially because it's like it seemed like horror now became a nasty word, and so psychological thriller. Oh, that has a classier word to it. It doesn't sound nearly as filthy. That's what it also felt too. It kind of felt like the '80s, while we had fun wallowing in blood and sex and rock and roll. It felt like the
yeah,
'90s. It was like, okay,
The
we grew
'90s,
up. It's
they
time to
couldn't
like,
do as much.
yeah,
right. I think we noticed kind of a pattern if you look at it, like the '80s, it was chock full of horror everywhere, like all kinds of different things coming out. The '90s was very subdued. There wasn't a lot that kind of really stood out and, made it to where it's like, oh yeah, the '90s was huge for horror. But then you get into the 2000s, and it kind of ramped back up again with all kinds of, the slashers, the gores, the horror, all that stuff. And now we're seeing the big trend in horror right now is a lot of like the the A24, the real, like, you gotta think
yeah.
about it, you gotta, it's more, I don't, it's what's the word they use for it,
They do a lot more art house horror today than what they
yeah,
did back
it's
then.
art house horror, it's yeah, there's a
Now,
term
what
for
do
it, I
you
can't
guys
remember.
like? For me, I guess I look at horror, and I look at horror as in Jason, Freddy, those slasher, that type of thing. But I felt like, and I'm looking at a list of '90s. What they consider? I typed in '90s horrors movies, and I'm like, almost all of those are, I guess, go to the thriller or
Yeah.
the suspense, or so they start like mixing and matching, merging genres because that shit don't work no more.
Well,
Yeah.
like I feel like the '80s bled out
You're
pop
muted.
culture
If you're
and
talking, you're
horror.
muted.
Am I?
No,
Oh, Cody. Oh,
Metalhead. Yeah,
oh,
he's muted.
Sorry, my dog is being an asshole right now.
Okay,
just
but
like
yeah,
his
the
owner. I
genres
mean,
like
what?
merge.
It's the one that hates me.
But yeah, no.
But don't forget about the rock soundtracks in the '90s movies.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them weren't that. The Crow wasn't that bad. Crow probably had the best soundtrack of the '90s.
I don't consider
Oh,
The
yeah.
Crow horror. I
Yeah, I
don't
don't
know.
consider The Crow horror either. I consider it thriller or suspense.
Yeah.
Or
more
But
more
Okay,
like,
but
yeah,
if you
more like
also
it's a
if you
very
look at
early
what
comic
happened
book
to them,
movie.
if you look at what
Gothic
happened to
yeah,
them though, hold on.
yeah,
yeah,
but
it's
I was
tragic.
Yeah, but
blindsided by
I
the
still don't
'80s.
consider it a horror movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like I also noticed like around the '90s is when like people are starting romanticizing, you, like specific ghouls, like mostly vampires, like especially with Interview with a Vampire.
Yeah.
And then we had the Buffy movie, and then came along the show later in the '90s.
Buffy was awesome.
And oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of it that
Charmed.
contributes it too is that horror and kind of movies in general towards the '90s were starting to get more into like the moving away from traditional practical effects and starting to mess a little bit with
Yeah.
like CGI, and it was still in its infancy, so it was kind
The
of
faculty.
it just
Yeah.
it didn't stick out. It didn't
Idle
really
hands.
provide much. Yeah,
I don't
And
hint
you
a good
also-
one.
exactly.
Yeah, and then you also got to keep in mind one of the big things about the '90s was that was the big era where we started seeing a lot of this whole postmodern irony being the big thing in all pop culture.
Mhm.
It's inherent in the music and the movies, and there was just like there's always some kind of a lot of the movies, we talk about here just poking fun. I think the whole point of this was cheesy movies that we are poking fun at, and that's just like not something that
You can
really
really do
lends
with the
itself to that
90s.
kind of attitude.
Yeah.
Right, and I mean it was a lot of also kind of satirizing and parodying things from the 80s. Like, look, Scream, great, great slasher film, but it was also kind of ripping on the, slasher genre as a whole. It was kind of
Yeah.
parody without being like superhero movie or scary movie
Yeah.
level parody, So it's, yeah, I think it was more so kind of, they spent the whole era of the 90s kind of dogging on the 80s or drying up the well of what the 80s provided.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if we continue this, then like we'll jump straight on 90s movies, and yeah, you can't really sit there and put like what's your cheesiest, trashiest 90s film unless you're really looking at very, very low budgeted horror. Baby Oopsie from the Killer Toys or whatever or something like that
Yeah.
line from Full Moon.
Demonic Toys.
There you go. That's what it was called. Thank you, Baby Oopsie. That's gonna be your new nickname.
Nice.
And so I own this movie. I have not watched it forever because it's so bad, but Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys.
That's a good
my
one. That's a good one.
Yes.
It's cheese, it's
oh
trash,
my head.
but you know what? It's VHS horror at its best. Even though VHS was probably dead at the time.
Horror. It's so.
It's very pulpy too. They made it that way. But yeah, so we're gonna have to wrap this up. We're gonna have our guys deliver their socials on where you guys can catch them. Cody, you are first. There you go. Cody,
Well,
yeah, you're first. Where can people find you?
My main social would probably be Instagram. Just Cody666.
Very original.
I am kind of streaming on Twitch, just mainly for fun. It's just Metalhead1294.
Definitely go follow him if you love. I was gonna say Turner Classics movies. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, same acronym, totally different meaning.
I've been playing that game with my friends, so it's
been fun because I was supposed to go to sleep one night and I watched him play. And
They
I was
stayed
like,
up like an extra hour.
Yeah, I stayed up almost an extra hour. I was like, fucking make it, and it's like shit.
Yeah, we were all over that lead, but nope, he failed.
Tommy, where can the fine folks find you at? I don't know where to put my finger.
So you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, MH Gunpay. It'll be spelled the way I have it on. You can probably see it on James's Discord. Also there on, I have a Twitch account. I've been banding the idea of getting back into that. So yeah, you can find me on all of those.
Anyway, Paulette, where can we find you guys? Well, Cody is probably throwing the cat in the microwave.
Oh no, not the kitty. So my main social is Instagram.
Look at the recipe.
My main social is Instagram, and I just got TikTok is the same username I have here on Discord. That Metal Paul. I just mostly post memes, the music I listened to that day, all on Instagram. And right now I'm trying to catch up with one horror movie a day for October.
Mm-hmm.
And for TikTok, I'm still trying to figure out how do I use this.
I've been doing this for 2 years.
It took me a few days to figure out how to do TikTok. I'm like, what can I do on here?
Yeah, and what can I post? I'm trying to figure that out.
Warbler, where can we find you, man?
I'm on Twitch at Warbler0G. I basically do FPS shooter games. I play video games with a bunch of people, and hang out and just have fun that way. Make kids cry, rage. I rage and I come up with new cuss words all the time.
And I use those on kids in Fortnite. So he's the test drive one to sit there see, will that get him banned off of Twitch? Oh no, it's good. It's safe for me to use, and then bam. Yeah. And Sydney, where can we find you?
So you can find me on Twitch, same name as here, and then on Instagram, it's the name on here, but with a 6-7 at the end of it.
Okie dokie, folks. I'm the Gothic. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I was done.
Oh, you're not? Okay. Folks, you can find me as the Gothic Storyteller on Instagram, Twitch, TikTok, Thread, but I don't really use that anymore. I also have a YouTube channel. That's obviously where you guys are going to sit there and watch this if you guys missed it. Thank you guys again for being here. I appreciate it. I was surprised we were able to keep the lineup the way that we did. Cody had to change a few last minute, so I had that mental breakdown.
Hey, it was a week in advance. You're fine.
when you host 2 movie talks a week and then stream the days in between there, it does get even hard because like, fuck, now I gotta figure out this movie.
I wasn't able to watch 2 of the movies I needed to watch. I'm like, well, fuck.
Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you guys all later.